All right. I hope this works. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good evening, everyone.
Hey. Hey.
So I had I decided to switch over to OBS Studio like an hour before the stream. So hopefully everything is all right. People in the chat, let me know if there's any issues. Tonight we are joined by Two Player Productions, who are a huge influence on Try and I believe. Like, and that we've been watching their stuff for a long time, and we're happy to have them with us. Sorry, I'm like my head is like kind of spinning because I was
I don't
rushing
believe any
around.
of that, but well, we're happy to be here with you guys because we've learned so much from your videos as we've been trying to just make like our interface with classic games cleaner and higher quality. It's like you guys are the best resource I think to go to. So,
yeah, well, I mean,
so
it's
we're even.
I mean, you.
Even.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were kind of doing your thing as Two Player Productions like before we started the channel. So that was, seeing you guys become visible. Was definitely very encouraging for us. We kind of saw you're trying to do in some ways some similar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you guys are also doing like pure documentary content as well, so that's cool to see.
We've tried to do
somewhere
it
in the
a little
middle.
bit.
Meet somewhere in the middle.
But for the people in the chat who don't know, you're kind of like a in-house video team kind of at Double Fine.
Yeah, we should probably establish who we are and what do we do.
Yeah.
So I think Two Player started in 2005.
Early 2006.
2006.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
sounds about right.
Way
Does
back.
Does that mean we're older than you guys?
Maybe not older than me.
Oh.
Well, not in terms of age, but in terms of age of our production,
Nice. Cool.
our online presence. Yes.
Nice. Cool.
Well, we didn't have much of a presence back then. We started out shooting like music shows. We did a little documentary with Tommy Tallarico for Video Games Live.
Oh wow.
That was like
I didn't know we were gonna bring all this up.
yeah, that was like the first. That was like our first major project, and from there we worked with Sony. We worked with Penny Arcade. We did a documentary about Minecraft, and that led us to Double Fine with the Double Fine Adventure Kickstarter project, and we've been here ever since.
Like how did that come about to where you just like you were like kind of independent of Double Fine, but now you're just there.
We
Well,
got tired of freelancing, so we were like, you know what? We should just be somewhere.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's not quite. Not quite.
Plus,
That's awesome that there's like enough stuff for guys with your talent to do at a development studio.
well, I think Double Fine is in a unique place, being a medium-sized studio that puts out tons of games and has a lot of community interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually have a need for constant video output. Whereas normally, like your basic big studio will cut a trailer every couple of years and then go just, they'll outsource it to a trailer company and probably pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that trailer put together.
Mm-hmm.
But and then if you had at the indie end, you just have the developer who's talking directly to his audience. So Double Fine kind of falls in the middle.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like we're always either doing some sort of like documentary project here, working on trailers, doing a live stream, or just any sort of thing that comes up, and it's pretty frequent.
Yeah.
You do a
Community
lot
building
of-
as well, and
Yeah,
keeping,
you have
community engaged.
you've got a lot of live streams on Twitch where you just kind of have some of the devs come in and play stuff.
Yeah, we try to do different like video series and things that just keep Double Fine's audience interested and growing. During that time when there aren't games coming out, everybody's always sort of talking back and forth with each other. And we'll do things here with the developers sort of talking to the community, or we'll bring in other developers. And Double Fine being who they are, have a lot of connections in the industry. So it's pretty easy to convince people to come in.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, like I've definitely watched a bunch of them. I know you've done several seasons of the. You call it like, is it Gaming with Debs? Is that what it is?
Devs play.
Devs
Devs
play.
play.
Right.
Come
You
on.
watched several seasons of it, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
I skipped. I skipped around.
From
But yeah.
first to last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we did. We've done 2 seasons. One of them was mostly based on platformers. That was during the Psychonauts 2 crowdfunding campaign. And then before that, it was just kind of a random selection of whoever we could get to come to the studio. And the highlight of that was having Iga come and playing Symphony of the Night, which was
Yeah, that.
it's collectively like our favorite game, I think.
You guys like that game, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
obviously.
Yeah.
Just check.
And you guys were involved in the Kickstarter, weren't you? For Bloodstained.
Yeah, we did some pitch video and project planning and all that type of stuff. But
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean,
that
we're both backers. Very excited about it.
I'm glad
The way that whole thing rolled out was like unbelievable. Like,
yeah, a lot of that was Fangamer. Those guys have gotten to be incredibly good at just that whole process.
That was just the best Kickstarter launch I've ever seen, hands down. Like it, it just, you could feel the excitement behind it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that project looks like it's coming along really well.
Oh
so
yeah, it really does.
I'm really, really happy about that.
So some people are a little confused about, how we're doing this stream. They're like, wait, how's two players live on Twitch? How are they here? And we're going to have like multi-people gameplay going on here.
Yeah, I'm capturing here from their Twitch page. I'm capturing their Twitch page. It'll show up at the same time as my gameplay. And we kind of did it because they wanted to show us around maybe a little bit, like play some games, but also like show us around like their studio a little bit. And here I wanted to kind of do something that they aren't able to do with their setup yet. They might want to do it after they see what I'm doing now. And that is I'm going to be playing a light gun game.
Oh yeah.
On a CRT, but also streaming, from real hardware in RGB to a FrameMeister.
Which is kind of one of the more weird things that we're set up to do.
Sounds hard.
I requested this as we were talking about doing the live stream because I'm sort of bummed out that we lost a lot of our light gun functionality because we don't have CRTs here in the office, and many of the light gun systems require CRTs. Maybe you guys could clear this up, but do you need it for the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, or is it more just the Saturn and PlayStation generation?
Oh, you need a CRT for everything. Because it sees the refresh of the CRT, and that's how it can.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
It's like a combination of like the scan lines and the refresh and the like the brightness of it, like the particular brightness I believe is a factor as well. But there's no way that anyone has created to get around it. Short of implementing a some sort of cursor overlay for. They've done that for some ports of some old light gun games, but it's not the same thing for sure.
So you couldn't do a Wii, like Dead Space Extraction?
Yeah, I mean,
you could do that.
Yeah, Wii would be okay.
Yeah. Because it uses a
sensor
bar.
The sensor bar is kind of the only workaround, and that's different because the sensor bar is kind of only approximating like where within your TV space you are, because it doesn't have any idea how big your TV is, and so you don't literally point at the point and shoot. You move it and see the cursor on screen, so it's definitely a very different sort of thing.
So before we get to, we did our intro, but like, I'm curious to hear more about what you guys do outside of My Life in Gaming, because you've got outstanding production quality. Your shows are beautiful. Like, they're very well put together. And I know that you have some video background, but I'd like to hear more about what you guys do.
Okay. Try, you want to go ahead and start?
I started, making videos in high school. We didn't have any sort of video production thingy it all. Just me and my friends just kind of got into it, and kind of just taught ourselves and edited VCR to VCR and that kind of stuff. And I liked it enough that I went to college more or less to learn to do that. And I graduated college in '06, and I continued working at that college and at the TV studio, and I'm still there, but now I'm also doing this with Corey. So
And Dre has a lot more actual production experience. I worked in post production pretty much.
I mean, I've kind of been shoot, edit, the whole thing, and kind of the advantage of where I am. I never wanted to kind of where I live. Like, what are you going to do with video? You aren't going to get involved in some big production like right here. Most people probably go into something like news, and that just doesn't interest me at all. But I have had the privilege of a lot of people who have come to work in my department are people who are, trying to escape news and stuff like that. And so I've had the advantage of getting to learn from people who have, gone through very challenging, life and learning experiences with video production. I've been able to learn from them without actually having to go to those places myself. So I've vicariously learned a lot of things one way or the other.
I think that there's like a very clear divergence between going into this like hardcore production aspect, like what you're talking about, sort of like the news broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's extremely technical, extremely gear oriented. And then the other path of that is sort of going into the creative, like production Hollywood style, where people don't have a lot of that knowledge and they're sort of relying on other people to handle all that stuff for them. So it's like going down that technical path, which is something I feel like we're not very well informed with.
I'm like somewhere in the middle of like technical and creative. Like I don't think I excel at either one, so I kind of like blend it together in a way,
Like a red mage.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? And red mages are actually, one of the better classes in Final Fantasy XI, despite, their being a jack of all trades. So whatever.
Try that out.
I went to school for video, and I learned actually on Media 100 in college, which was no longer being used by the time I got out. So I moved to New York, and I interned at a post-production training facility, and learned a whole bunch there, and met a bunch of people, and like worked freelance. And I worked at a post house in Times Square for like 7 years until I got laid off and moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. And we started the channel, I think it must have been 6 months. No, it was like 4 months. Like
we
4 or 5
started in
months.
October 13.
And I got laid off in February of 2014. So, yeah, I mean, it's still pretty early on in the channel.
How did you guys get connected in the first place?
There's a website that I'm one of the co-founders of called the Backloggery. It's just backloggery.com, and it's a game collection tracking site. And not just game collection, but backlog tracking. The main purpose is to mark what games you've actually still got unfinished and what you've beaten and all that.
Yeah.
And Corey signed up on the side, and we just I think we just kind of hit it off because we sort of worked in the same field, and we
had the same mentality towards games, I think, too.
Yeah, it's sort of a lot of same perspectives on games. And at the time, we were playing like a lot of the same games. Like we were, really into Resident Evil 5 co-op and stuff. So, we kind of connected that way. And so yeah, we just and then we a bunch of people from the Backloggery community went to MagFest, and I think it was 2012 was the first year that we went. And so we met there in person. We'd been, but of course we'd just been talking a lot online before then. And, so and then it was like, a year and a half later, yeah, about a year and a half later, we decided to start the channel. We were like,
because we had
let's
put all this time into like looking at the FrameMeister, and then
Yeah.
we
yeah.
built this
Yeah.
this great capture setup. We said, why don't we do something with it? Because there's not a lot of people, I think, that have like production and post production experience, at least at the time, working like doing like shows on YouTube, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
And at the time, we thought our method of capturing was really unique. Using real hardware and getting RGB out of it. Or at least it was relatively unique. At least it was unique in terms of trying to make an edited piece out of it.
mm-hmm.
But I think I've always wanted to do something with YouTube, but I just never even began to start. But I think you've got that accountability partner sort of situation going on. Corey's like, hey, let's do something. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And that has, I think, easily been the key to our success, or at least our doing of anything at all. Is that there's two of us doing it, and that's we haven't gone more than 3 weeks without releasing a video since we started. We try to target 2 weeks,
Maybe like 3 weeks and a day we've gone.
Yeah,
before.
that might be the longest. So yeah, I mean it's it's considering it's going to have been 4 years this October. That's it's pretty crazy that we've actually stuck with it as consistently as we have, and I think that's the key.
But when we when we came to Double Fine and we really started sort of digging ourselves into the studio and making ourselves a part of things here.
Like a tick.
Yeah, like a tick. Siphoning off of there.
Where the head breaks off.
Yeah.
In the skin,
We, they had like a bunch of old systems sitting around, and occasionally teams would boot stuff up to play it and look at it for research, be it they're working on a game, just to like look at things and talk about how people did things previously. And it always tended to be kind of a mess because not everything was hooked up at once. You'd have to find some way to set it up. And when we started doing the Devs Play series, we said that we wanted to be able to capture the classic games at like the highest quality that we possibly could. And we didn't want to just run things in an emulator. We wanted to run it off of hardware. So that led us down the path of finding the FrameMeister. Mm-hmm. And actually ordering one, getting one, getting the capture device. It's also made by the X-Capture 1 from the same company.
Yeah.
Having those two things together, because we were constantly frustrated at trying to capture at 1080p 60, which up until maybe like a little while ago, it was a real pain to get a capture device that was robust enough to take a number of different sources, be smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had like pro devices where you had to sit there and try to figure out, well, what frame rate is this exactly? Because there's 70 different things it could be, and it's only going to work if I dial it into the correct one. So having the FrameMeister and having the X-Capture 1, they just worked together perfectly, and it didn't really matter what you threw at them. Like, it would always just figure out what the signal was, switch over to that resolution, and give you like a pretty decent 60 FPS capture. Mm-hmm. So now we had that for recording anything here in the studio, and for doing our Devs Play videos, and all the research that we were trying to do, there was really only like 1 or 2 websites that had anything of value. So when we found you guys on YouTube, it was like thank God, because it's like even having this nice sort of system set up, you still have to figure out how to get every console working for it, and what the variations are, and sort of how far do I want to become like a crazy videophile and just agonize over the bleed and the tone of the greens and like all these little things. But it's kind of like this fascinating rabbit hole that you can slide down into.
Yeah, I mean
that's never ending, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lenient on like a whole lot of things in terms of as much of a videophile as I am, I'm also kind of like whatever about it at the end of the day. But yet I'm fascinated by it, and I have this compulsion to do as much as I can with it. So here we are.
Yeah, I totally agree that I think it's a lot more fascinating to talk about and read about and explore than it is to actually deal with. because when it comes to like turning a system on and playing something, like I do not find myself caring too much if the pixel aspect ratio is like 100% perfect, or if there's a certain amount of signal noise. It's like I'm not going to reconfigure my FrameMeister for every single system and then sit there and change between state. Like all that stuff doesn't bother me that much, but I love actually learning about it and seeing people explore it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you guys put everything together and do your presentation, it's really fantastic. It's like the best out there.
Well, we try.
I've got the chat up here, and I noticed that there's a lot of stuff going by, and I don't know if we should take a second to address anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, always just keep an eye on it. I mean, usually what we do is we take questions just like throughout the stream, like if anybody has something. I mean, since he's not playing anything, he'll keep an eye on it, and
I'll just keep an eye. So
he'll be like the main. He'll keep the conversation going. Should we start playing? Anyways.
Oh, did we?
We should talk about like the main reason you're even here.
Oh yeah, well, we do like a plug.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the major project that we worked on with Double Fine was a Double Fine adventure, and that was, I guess it's been 5 years, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wow.
5 years.
It's crazy to think about.
We documented.
Think about it.
Yeah, we try not to think about it. We documented Double Fine making that game from the Kickstarter, Broken Age, and that was over 3 years of just solid development on that game. And we were there shooting it practically every single day, and we made a 20-episode documentary series about that. And once the game shipped, we then went back and spent over a year sort of doing more post-production on the series, cleaning up the audio, doing a better pass on color, noise reduction, building a Blu-ray, like all these things. And now that Blu-ray is out, like all the backers have gotten all their stuff. We're entirely finished, and the series is available on Blu-ray or digitally at a number of different places. Steam. Right now we're in the Humble Freedom bundle, so for $30 you can get like an incredible, crazy number of PC games, but you get the Double Fine adventure in there as well. And what we'd really like to do next is take the series to Netflix, because Netflix is kind of like the place for new original content. They've got a huge subscriber base and a really fantastic algorithm for recommending content. And we know that a couple of video game documentaries have done well on there before, like Indie Game the Movie and Snake and things like that. So we think that there's an audience there who would probably like the series. But communicating with Netflix is impossible. So we're hoping that just through like a grassroots type thing, we can encourage people to go tell Netflix that they'd like to see the Double Fine adventure on there.
So there's a URL that people can go to. You don't even have to log in or anything to submit a request for content that you want to see on Netflix.
No, yeah, there's just a page. I don't know how many people actually know about it, but if there's something that you want to suggest, you can go to that site. And I think it's slightly too complex for me to just say it out, but maybe you guys could drop it in the chat or throw it up somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I don't think I have the URL in my history.
Well, if you look at our Twitter and you go through the like our past tweets from the My Life in Gaming account, there should be a retweet in there from it.
Yeah, here I'll try to bring that up, and I can drop it in the chat in a bit.
It takes all of about 10 seconds to do, so for anyone that can jump over there and do that, we would super appreciate it, because it's really the only way that we can think to get their attention at this point.
Yeah.
Also in the chat, this guy Adam, who's never watched the doc, you got to get on that, man.
Oh, wait, he says that he backed the adventure just to get the documentary, but he hasn't watched it yet.
I don't usually say our stuff's good, but this is like the one thing where I'm like, this doc is actually pretty good. Like, I'll stand by this.
Here is, I just dropped in the chat, Blade Blur did too.
Yeah, somebody beat you to it.
Your blog post for it, which the link... the links for what you need to do. It's like so super easy. There's no reason to not just do it, and you'd help get some cool gaming content on Netflix. So
All right, guys, ready to play some games? So tonight I'm going to be playing something that's kind of random. it's kind of a running joke, I think.
But we don't even know. Like you still haven't even played it, have you?
No, not even beyond like.
No, but we just love the title.
Yeah, it's kind of a Japanese exclusive kind of spin-off of the Point Blank games. It is called.
I didn't know it was related.
It's called Byakuun. And it's like oh with an exclamation mark.
Yeah. Oh! Exclamation mark. Byakuun. And
you can kind of see it right here.
I feel like that is like a Japanese thing. Like I feel like I've seen it a few places. The one that I can most recently remember is in Resident Evil 7. There is just some of the junk that is lying around. There's like a board game that just says, fishing. With the exclamation mark and everything.
Is that like the old mechanical fishing game where you have the magnetic rod and you try to get the fish?
I don't know. It's just a box. It's just a board game box or something that's just like sitting in the house in Resident Evil 7.
Did you guys like 7?
Corey hasn't had a chance to play it yet. I liked it a lot. It was, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I mean, I love pretty much all of them. From 1 to admittedly even 6. Like I think 6 is a fun game. I don't care what people say. No, it's not all like old Resident Evil games, but it's still a good game. I was definitely looking forward to seeing them really kind of get back to the basics in a way. And I was impressed by how much like Resident Evil it felt. There's the quirky puzzles and the weird locked doors and stuff. And I thought that they were really going to kind of throw almost everything out the window. And they didn't really. They streamed it down to they distilled it to its pure essence, but it was still very much Resident Evil. So I will not be opposed to seeing them take another stab at that direction if that is what they decide to do.
Paul, did you get your copy?
I just bought it. I was gonna play it right now, and then I was like, okay, I guess I gotta go on the stream. But after this, I'm gonna finally start playing it. But yeah, I guess if you follow their pattern, they'll make another one that's similar to this one, and then they'll do something totally different after that. So.
Maybe so.
Yeah, the next one will be set in a city, and it'll just keep growing exponentially, bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and we are fans of crazy Resident Evil, like 5 and 6. Like I like 6. We really like 5.
I think 5 is like the best co-op experience ever.
It was fun. We played that.
Yeah, we played the co-op on that. It was fun.
They made it gave it a different feel.
Yeah,
it was good.
I was really impressed by 7. It's probably one of my favorite of the entire franchise now.
Jeez.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
See, I wanted to get it, but I hadn't finished Final Fantasy 15 yet, so that was kind of I wanted to finish that before I move on to something else.
You also need to play Revelations. You need to play Revelations 2, which I thought was fantastic.
I played 1. That was pretty good.
Revelations 1 is one of my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
That's the one on the boat.
I gave it points for being handheld, for a handheld.
Yeah, that was the most impressive thing about it. It was kind of mind blowing to see it run on handheld like that. But yeah, I don't know. Just it didn't do it for me overall. But I really like Revelations 2. One of the most interesting things about Revelations 2 is that it's kind of got this asymmetrical multiplayer, which I played it single player. But you switch between 2 characters. There's like 2 parties of 2, and one character in each party can use guns, and the other character has cannot use guns and has more like support abilities. So it's kind of interesting, like the dynamic between those characters. I thought that was actually kind of a little bold that they didn't make, two identical characters, or they made a co-op game where one character didn't get to use guns. But then, I played through it. I liked it. Me and Corey were going to play it, like it was probably like half a year ago. Corey was like, "Oh, let's do co-op Revelations 2," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then like we booted it up, and I'm like, "Wait, where do you invite someone to join your group?" And then I did some I did some research, and I discovered it's local multiplayer only. Which is like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm like, I'm all supportive of local multiplayer, but like, of all the games to not have online multiplayer, like that's just so weird. Like that's just a very bizarre thing for them to have not included. Like I wouldn't have even I never heard anyone complain about that. The one thing I heard people complain about was that the PC version didn't have local co-op, but no one talked about not having online either.
Daniel Greenberg in the chat really quick is asking about the AverMedia. It says cannot read the signal or whatever. That's when the FrameMeister is switching signals. He says,
I wonder why it does that.
Oh, okay.
So I noticed something interesting while I was gathering material for the NT Mini episode today. The weird horizontal line on the Mega Man 3 boss select screen. Like
and 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Over Shadow Man's head. I was getting some shots of that just because, I wanted to show how it's, the NT Mini, is even displays like, the weird things that the NES does, and they behave in the exact same way. So, I mean, to me, if something that is unintentional works correctly, then the whole thing has to be pretty accurate, right? And one really weird thing that happened, this was when I was running my actual NES to my PVM. It actually caused the sync to blip and display like the resolution again on the PVM, but it only did that one time. But it did that between the transition to from the tile screen to the boss leg screen. So I think whatever causes that line is kind of a little, I don't know. Some causes the resolution to go a little wonky there. Sometimes
is it some sort of a display hack that they're doing to get like a different resolution?
Voltar in the chat says that it's caused by by raster interrupt. I guess that's what he says it is. Oh, geez, I didn't realize that was
video raster interrupt.
Video raster interrupt.
So I do want to just say that this game that Corey is playing looks amazing.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
It's a whole thing like sort of weird ghost theme, or okay.
Is it like based on something?
Yeah, I think there was a. It might not be Japanese exclusive. There might be a European version called like Ghoul Patrol, maybe. Try. Can you Google that really quick?
Yeah.
Well, Ghoul Patrol is a sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Okay.
Oh.
No, but there it's like Ghoul something.
I believe it is, at least.
Is this Dreamcast game that he
PlayStation.
Oh, PlayStation.
Yeah, it looks good for a
1?
PlayStation. Yeah.
Yeah, the graphics are really well animated.
Yeah, no way. This really feels.
Oh, it didn't come up on Wikipedia right away.
It's a very limited environment, so I think they're just throwing everything they possibly can at that one screen.
It's cool though. There's bosses too, which is not what I was expecting.
I don't know how to spell this game, so I'm like not even bringing up any.
It's OH exclamation mark BAKYUUUN. There's 3 U's in there.
Bakuun.
Yeah.
I think I kept calling it Byakuun.
I know it's just a.
Oh, the chat is saying that it's Ghoul Panic.
Ghoul Panic. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And it does say point blank.
So it's a spin-off of the Point Blank series?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no like dedicated Wikipedia page for this game, but it's got a great title. I'll say that.
Oh, whoops. There we go. No.
Come on, Blade Blur.
Oh, come on. I can't put in my name. No, whatever. UCC, that's... I mean, I'm about 7 feet away from my screen. I try to make it as arcade-like as possible.
7 feet sounds far even for arcade, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's over there. I'm on the other side of the room.
Oh, did you guys? I'd suggested. I don't know if you guys are able to find one, but booting up a Super Scope 6 game.
I tried to get one. I went out to this one store that I really like. I know the owner, and nothing. They had one that was complete in box a couple of weeks earlier, but it's sold.
Yeah.
Nah.
So it wasn't for lack of trying.
Were there good games on there? Because I never really...
I think that it's much maligned just because of how goofy and huge it was. But Metal Combat and...
There's
actually...
There's another one
that's
that
the
used like a
sequel.
special... Yeah, like Battle Clash.
Battle Clash.
Yeah.
Battle Clash was the first one, and Metal Combat is a sequel to Battle Clash. And all you have to just look up footage of Metal Combat because it is one of the most amazing looking Super Nintendo games.
It uses a special chip, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge, gorgeous sprites, like tons of animation, tons of scrolling layers, and I feel like it's been completely passed over just because of its association with the Super Scope.
Are any of the Super Scope games expensive?
No. I think that even Metal Combat's probably $10 or $18.
Oh wow! I just looked it up. It's like 5 to 10.
No, I would say that it's an absolute must play.
I should go. See, I've never used one. Like I should get a Super Scope just because just because I'm such a huge Mario fan, and I've never played Yoshi's Safari, and I feel like I have no idea if it's any good, but I still feel like that's a game I should play.
I haven't played that one, but I can assume that it probably is good. I can't think of even like the pack-in Super Scope game was pretty fun. And
it was like 6 games.
Yeah, it was like 6 games, and there's another one I didn't play that was like XCOM or something like that. I'm not even too sure what that one was.
Wow,
X-Zone.
The gun by itself on eBay. Here's one. Yeah, it's gun only, $15.
Yeah, you're probably just going to pay for shipping on that thing, really.
Yeah.
Why would they make it a huge missile launcher anyway?
What's that?
Why make a huge missile launcher?
That was the coolest thing about it. It looks like a rocket launcher.
If
like a bazooka.
If I see one, I'll get it because it just seems like a thing I should have.
I actually thought it was kind of comfortable. I think I'm either completely forgetting that, like I'm remembering it incorrectly, and it was actually incredibly uncomfortable to use for a long period of time, or it was very comfortable because you could rest it on your shoulder.
Now, what's the? I forget what the Genesis equivalent is because I remember GameSack did a video that was like Super Scope versus the Genesis one.
That might be the very first episode of GameSack.
I think it was. Yeah.
Is it a rocket launcher too, or was it?
That was a gun.
It's
big. It was the Enforcer.
It's like
No, the
Menacer.
Yeah, it's a big thing too. I think
it was.
Yeah, and it had 2 scopes on it. You could look through both of them at the same time for some reason.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture. It looks similar to the. I
thought you were going to say it looks so stupid.
It's got like the same color scheme, kind of, but it is smaller, but it's still like a weird, biggish looking thing.
But the Sega Master System had the best
it did.
I think that one was gorgeous.
And it was. Did you ever play Zillion?
So my relationship with Sega is that my cousin had all Sega stuff. And then I had all Nintendo stuff. So whenever I went over his house, it was like this alternate dimension like all these different games I'd never heard of before. We would like, he had the 3D glasses for the Master System and the light gun, and just completely unlike anything that I had back home. So most of my knowledge of Sega games is very like just right on the edge, because I only got to try it for a couple of minutes at his house at every time.
Yeah, I actually have to pay attention in this one.
Yeah, my I didn't really know a lot of people with Sega, and the people I did were just like people that I just like didn't really go to their house. Like I'll like talk to them at school or something, and it's like yeah, they have Sega, but none of my closer friends had it, and so I played a little here and there, mostly in stores, but it was really not a thing for me until Virtual Console. I knew more people with the Dreamcast than I knew with the Genesis.
Yeah.
Like it's still so weird to me that the Dreamcast didn't sell, because it seems one of the more popular consoles of that era among retro gaming today. And just back in the day, I knew a bunch of people who had one. I played the Dreamcast at people's house. I mean, that just didn't happen to me with Genesis for whatever reason. But
I'd almost say the opposite, in that I don't really think I knew many people that had Dreamcasts. Amongst like the circle of friends at school who were like gamers, we had Dreamcasts. But outside of that, like I remember taking mine over to other people's houses quite a bit. But I was day one for the Dreamcast. I was totally psyched for that.
Still the best launch of all time.
Yeah, quite possibly.
$99.99.
Yeah,
Guys, right?
What'd you guys get on day one?
Sonic, Soul Calibur, and did I get a football game? I might have got a football game.
NFL 2K. I mean, wasn't even in the football games at all.
Now, I don't really follow football, but I like football games at times.
Yeah.
And there's something always really impressive about being able to do slow-mo and pause the screen and spin everything around. Like, I was actually more fascinated in being able to step through animation and like zoom a camera all around inside a 3D environment and like watch replays. Like, I was always really fascinated by that. And football games are one of the few things that actually let you do that.
Jared White is saying, asking if we would like to borrow his official Dreamcast VGA box for the RGB episode whenever that hits. That is still going to be some bit away, not in the immediate future. But that you should actually probably send it to Corey when you do. But
yeah, don't
say it anytime too soon for sure. Yeah,
it's orange, the one I have.
I mean, it would definitely be good for us to be able to show the official one. But yeah, that would probably be some time away. And Corey can record more Dreamcast games than I can, so anything Dreamcast related.
Well, you could technically record whatever, because you don't even need to mod the system.
The games have to be under a certain size to do that, though, I think.
Well, they've made it so that they've compressed them down, that anything fits on the CD now. Are you guys playing, or no? You're just on the Castlevania screen. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, we're just on a pause screen. I was just now thinking if there's something light gun related on the NES that we could fire up that would make for a good side by side. And
do you have a light gun?
Well, we don't have a light gun, but there are some NES light gun games that let you use a controller, I think, and just move the cursor around.
Bayou Billy.
Bayou Billy.
How about a different one?
We could try playing Bayou Billy.
I don't know if you want to do that. I went to a guy's house and I bought a couple of games from him, and he's like, "Do you have Bayou Billy?" I was like, "No." He's like, "I'm just gonna give you Bayou Billy," and he had like 8 copies of Bayou Billy. So he's just like, "I want you to take one."
Voltar is saying "gotcha" for the NES.
Gotcha.
I don't think I know that one.
Oh, is that was like the paintball, right?
Paintball. Yeah. There's one that's like sort of Vietnam based.
Operation Wolf.
Operation Wolf. Yeah, I think that uses a You can use a controller on that, I think.
You want to try?
Yeah, we'll change our setup here.
Mm-hmm.
We have this is our desk that we're at, but we're gonna spin the camera around
Are
and
they
go
even
over.
seeing us? Can they see?
They see us when we talk.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we'll just change our situation up and put something up on the Nintendo.
Change our situation.
And you guys kind of use a whole different like streaming setup than we do, like a lot more equipment, obviously, than what we have.
I don't know. It's certainly different. I'll take the camera and do a quick exploration of that since I'm gonna have to get up and move around anyway. So just give us a second here while we get resettled.
I'm trying to think of. I saw a video of some game on NES. I think it was an NES game that had a few light gun segments. I can't even think off the top of my head how to even describe it. I think it was more of a military type thing, but I think it only had a few light gun levels.
Oh, look at that! I'm watching there. I might have to watch from my laptop over here. So
Oh.
see, because I'm on the other side of the room. I can barely see it. Oh, we can't hear you. I don't know if they can. I don't know. I don't know if they're meant to be sending us audio or not yet.
Voltar is saying Freedom Force. Let me look that up. I don't know if that's what I was thinking of or not.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, I just turned our audio off while I was moving us around here. So
So this is where you usually do your streams. Do you stream on any specific day of the week usually?
we do Thursdays.
Okay.
Thursday at 5 Pacific Standard Time. Let's see. So I'm going to move my camera here, and hopefully this won't make anybody sick. Let me detach it from the tripod.
Voltar, I think that is what I was thinking of, Freedom Force. I don't know anything about it. Sunsoft. I like Sunsoft games.
Love Sunsoft.
I'm watching it in the Skype window all the way over there, but at the same time.
Okay. So I'm going to go handheld here for a little bit. So this is our little production desk we have set up in the corner here.
Oh, you've got the little
beer bottle.
And the little DualShock 4
charge station.
Two controller charges. One of my charging docks on one of the slots on mine just doesn't work anymore.
So we've got our rubbing alcohol for cleaning parts, and then regular alcohol for cleaning other things.
Parts. Well.
Yeah. And watch my HDMI cable here. Okay. So as you can see, we're sort of in the Double Fine. This is like a central meeting area where the company will get together for meetings and things. We got a couple of couches, and we set up a little light here for when we're doing live streams. But if I can turn around, this is like our entertainment center that was put together maybe like a few months ago, and we've got all of our systems in little bays all across the bottom.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, so there should be space for pretty much all the major stuff, and we made sure that we'd be able to fit anything in any of these, so you can move it all around, and they should all fit in there okay.
Do you have an original master system?
We do not have a master system yet.
I'd be curious if it fits in there, because it's like a little bit. It's a lot wider than you think it's going to be.
I thought that I measured everything out, and I found that the biggest system was actually an Xbox One, the first generation Xbox One, but I might be wrong about that.
I should. Yeah. Looking at them both right here.
Could that really be bigger than the Master System?
I don't know. I can measure them right now, but I'm not gonna.
Come on, measure them.
I'd be afraid I'd knock something over and end up ruining everything.
So around on this side, we've got a couple of not terribly impressive, but we got our FrameMeister there. And next to that, just a little splitter. And what that splitter is doing is it's shooting it to the television and to our capture station across the other side of the room. And then we've got a 8-channel HDMI switcher here. So most everything is running into this right now, like a PS4. We got a separate PS4 for development here in the studio because we can run dev builds off of one and then retail builds off another. And the FrameMeister is going into a single input on that classic one there. And we've got like a free one for doing if anybody needs to hook a laptop up. But something that's been kind of a frustration lately is that the Nintendo 64, we did an HDMI mod on this guy. We've got the the mod installed there. But for whatever reason, if this is plugged in to our HDMI switcher, it doesn't matter if it's on or off. It will always cause the switcher to jump over to its input.
Really? That's interesting because, I've kind of got a situation where, my switcher doesn't let me switch to a source that is not on. There are some systems that will keep the light always on, but I can always manually switch away from. But the N64 doesn't do that for me, so that's weird that it would do that for you.
Yeah, so this particular switcher, we tried to find one that was affordable and also had some sort of like semi-auto switching. And you can see that there's like an orange light on all the ones it's reading as a current input.
Yeah.
And a green light on what you're actually on. So you can see that the classic one has the 2 lights on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Nintendo 64 is plugged in at all, and even if it's not showing an orange light, it'll just keep taking over.
Really?
And switching over to it. And I actually recommended to a friend of ours that they get this switcher, and they also happen to have the same mod in their Nintendo 64, and theirs does it as well.
Weird. Yeah, this... I've just got the Monoprice 8 input, and it's nothing special. I don't particularly recommend it because it like always blinks. Like on the input that's on, it just flashes. But so that's kind of annoying. But it's kind of semi-auto, like you say. But yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Mine does not do that.
So I don't know if I can might not be able to see. Yeah, it's probably too dark back there. But we've got our G-SCART and G-Comp set up back behind the television.
Nice.
And, none of this is really great yet. I won't go behind the television because it's a nightmare of wires.
How'd you get your hands on the G-Comp? Because is it even officially released?
He did a beta release, I think.
Okay.
Yes. Let me put the camera down here so I'm not making everyone sick as I'm walking around.
Because we both want to get one, too.
Yeah, I really want to get one.
So when he was doing...
These dancing... I just want to say these dancing skeletons are amazing. Like, they're like moonwalking and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
We've been trying to get everything in the office to work almost on like a one-button type of situation, so that somebody can come in and if they want to play something, they can just turn a console on and it'll basically just work.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't expect everyone here to have the same sort of patience or knowledge of like a signal chain as we do.
Right.
And one of the problems before we started trying to fix everything up is that people never used anything because it was just a pain to figure out how to get it hooked into the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So once we got the G-SCART and all the classic systems running through the FrameMeister, there were still those like middle systems that were left out of the chain. And that would be like the Xbox, the PS2, like anything that's running on components.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately started looking for something that would be like the G-SCART,
Mm-hmm.
but for component systems. And I found that it was a Super G.
Yeah, Super G.
Yeah, he was making one, or was planning to make one. So I jumped on that thread immediately, and I just watched it like a hawk. And the very moment that he put them up for sale for the beta, I was there just like refreshing the screen. and they sold out in a couple of minutes. So I'm glad that I put the effort into it.
Wow, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really want one, again, kind of just for that automatic. Like it's sort of silly that like I want to make my setup simpler because ultimately I'm really the only person that has to know how to operate it. But it's definitely presents an interesting challenge for you guys, trying to put something together that is ready and easy to use for sort of all sorts of different technical know-how,
Yeah, that was a huge challenge, and I think that like one of the biggest pieces is getting an HDMI like switcher that is smart to switch over to whatever is powered on, and most of those are really expensive. So I think that the one we have is one of the most affordable for that number of inputs.
Mm-hmm.
How many inputs does it have?
8.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So that's great, but the stupid Nintendo 64 thing sort of it's like if one thing isn't hooked up, it bothers me.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. Like I have to have everything hooked up, ready to go, even if it's something that like I rarely use. It's like it's got to be ready to go.
I know that this is like a strong contrast between. Well, actually, you know what? They're both sort of spooky themed. These games.
Yeah.
We've got like a ghost skeletons light gun game,
I'm
and
scared.
Paul had been asking me about it here, but this is the redacted version of Castlevania 2.
Oh, okay. Right.
Where he fixed all the text. The modder went in and
Oh.
made the game playable, so to speak. Me and Paul are both huge Castlevania fans in general, but I think we're also big Castlevania 2 apologists.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I am too, I think.
Yeah.
I never knew there was anything to apologize for.
I know when it came out, it was
Video
obtuse,
game
but you
nerd
just didn't
ruin things.
never thought about it being that it was bad. At least when I was a kid.
I think that this
playground
was
knowledge. You needed the playground knowledge.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
This was the first game that scared me when I was little.
Wow.
Like I specifically remember like the day to night cycle, and then the music changes and kicks in, and it's just like, man, I'm scared. Like this game is intense.
It's crazy. I think my cousin had all 3 for NES, and I don't remember playing these when I went to their house at all. But I mean, they had them, and I'm trying to remember what my first Castlevania exposure even was, but it was definitely after the NES's day. It could have been one of the NES games. It probably was. Maybe Castlevania 1 on the NES when I started like getting back into the NES system sort of in the late 90s when I was like, wait a second, old games are still good.
Actually, no, this game's terrible. It's
It was an interesting time, though. I think it's so crazy to think about it now that this Castlevania 2 is so different from the first one after the first one was a big hit. The same thing with Zelda. Like, it's crazy that they changed it so much after they immediately had a winning formula.
I think that this was probably... I wish in my mind I could remember where this fell in the Nintendo timeline.
I think this was 87, which I think Zelda 2 was also 87.
So around the same time.
Yeah, they might have been at the same time, even though this looks way better.
Well, I think with the exception of Zelda, like pretty much all those early Nintendo games were very much like arcade ports or A to B style arcade games. I guess Metroid was pretty open-ended. But it sort of felt like after people did their arcade ports, they wanted to explore something more open-ended. And that might have led them down this path. A style of game like this didn't exist.
Right.
So for all the problems that Castlevania 2 has, there wasn't really anything else like it. And I think you have to forgive it some of the mistakes that were made.
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, it's not as far removed from the first game as Zelda 2 is. But I actually like Zelda 2 more than Zelda 1. Like Zelda 1's kind of... Zelda, I like Zelda 2 a lot.
I'm out of here, guys.
Here's the thing with me and Zelda. Like, I actually didn't really get into Zelda until like my cousin like her favorite games for the NES were Zelda 2 and Xanadu.
Oh yeah, okay.
And
Makes sense.
And I mean, I remember, you know, playing Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, and I was like, yeah, I don't really get these games. Like anything that had money in it when I was a kid, I was like, ew, shopping's boring. I don't why
You
would I
didn't play
wanna
River
buy
City Ransom? Jeez.
why would I want to buy things in video games? You know, like I just wanted to run from left to right. The more like Mario it was, the better. Obviously, I've greatly expanded my horizon since when I was a little kid, but I was not open to very different ideas when I was very young. But yeah, but like I mean, I played them a little, and I really do like. I always liked the style of Zelda 2, but I just couldn't really get into the game. But I you know, you were saying that this game looks better than Zelda 2, but I mean, something about the style of Zelda 2.
Really? See, I feel like Zelda 2 is so ugly to me.
Oh, I love like it's got this very like
I can't
I
stand
don't.
it. It looks terrible.
I like the starkness of Zelda 2. I think it's kind of interesting. It's definitely a weird pseudo like Greco-Roman type thing going on. Like there's lots of columns and pillars and like flat colors, and all the palaces are just totally like flat color palettes.
It's got this. I sort of like to say like an earthy sort of feel to it, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't. It's sort of rugged. Like Hyrule feels like sort of this rugged wilderness with like just some towns scattered here and there. You know, and I love the look of the towns. I love the look of the character sprites. Like that even though I wasn't into Zelda at the time, like that game sort of set in my mind like what the world of Zelda looked like, and and I would say that to some extent that look, you know, did carry over into the 3D games, you know, especially with that iteration of Link has largely been what has become adult Link in the modern games.
Yeah, definitely a bit like in terms of.
Is that a good thing though? I mean, I don't really like the way it looks in the 3D games at all ever. You guys like the way it looks in the 3D games?
I mean, Zelda 2 Link
He looks pretty cool in Twilight Princess.
Zelda 2 Link has been my Twitter avatar since the day I signed up for Twitter. So.
But I think if you just look at like Ocarina of Time, it's young Link is like Zelda 1 Link, and then old Link is like Zelda 2 Link. They
kind of
basically just stretch him out. But I mean, there's a ton of Zelda 2 references in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean,
way more than the first Zelda.
When I saw the first screenshots of, you know, back when they were calling it Zelda 64, you know, they showed there was this one screenshot of this town that doesn't exist in the final game, but it was just this long sort of corridor with these houses along it, and it made me think of Zelda 2, and I was like, oh yeah.
I know the shot you're talking about. Yeah.
But that was actually what. Like that was kind of my impetus for getting into Zelda was, I lived in a new place from when from during the NES day, and when this hype for Zelda 64 started coming along, like people at school were starting to say like, oh, I'm really excited about that. And I'm like, really? I didn't know that Zelda was a big thing. Like I thought that was just something my cousin liked. You know, like I didn't know that you know that was, you know, actually a really big deal. So I borrowed A Link to the Past from a friend because I'm like, okay, I didn't really get those NES games, but like I'm going to give a serious go at the Super Nintendo game, and if I like that, then maybe I can join in on the hype for this N64 game. And so, yeah, I loved Link to the Past, and got excited for Ocarina, and then I went back and played the NES games and liked them. But I think the Zelda 2 kind of being the different one, and kind of the one that visually stood out more in my mind as a kid, has led to me liking Zelda 2 more today. And Zelda, the original Zelda, is kind of just there for me. And I feel like going from A Link to the Past back to Zelda 1 and then trying to appreciate equally is a little tough. I don't know. For me,
just right off the bat, I just want to say that we're here in San Francisco, and there's someone outside screaming bloody murder. And I was trying to listen to your conversation, and then listened to him at the same time, because I was like, "Is this person going to be breaking into our building and trying to kill us?"
I think you say that all again.
They're just they're
so
also playing.
They're
also playing Castlevania too. No, but I remember Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 being games that I banged my head against when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I think I beat Zelda 1, but I never could beat Zelda 2. But I like them both. But I remember when Link to the Past came out, and that was probably one of my all-time favorite Super Nintendo games, favorite games of all time, because it was so much more designed. Not that Zelda 1 isn't designed, but
no, it isn't. That's fair.
The level to which it leaves you to figure everything out, I kind of found to be frustrating when I was younger. And Link to the Past was so tight and such an alive world.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it felt alive. And aside from Link to the Past, I would say that Super Metroid does that really well too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just in terms of having an environment that feels like a place that you're actually in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of go on and on about Link to the Past is the only Zelda game that I truly actually love, and I would go out on a limb and say that it's probably as close to a perfect game as has ever been made.
Yeah,
I think that's true, but there's just something about the first Zelda that, for me, has this mystique to it, and it might just be some nostalgia or childhood memory, but. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
it has this sense of discovery that I feel like the other games are too designed, where it's this is where I have to bomb here and do this here. But the first one feels
I agree with that.
There's still secrets that I haven't found, and it's there could be anything waiting in that game for me. Whereas every other game in the series is okay, this is this and that's that, and it's but that game has a real sense of mystery to it that I just love to explore.
I do get the feeling that with Breath of the Wild, they're trying to recapture, if not the vibe, at least the intent of the original Zelda, which is something that I'm all about. I love what the game is going for, but in practice, actually playing it, I'm just this is good.
So I'm thinking of the times where I'd go through Zelda 1, and you walk onto the screen, you burn a bush, you leave the screen, you come back, burn the next bush, and you're just doing that back and forth for 15 minutes, burning every single tree. And it's part of that is fun, and then part of it is also sort of maddening and repetitive.
You gotta get the other candle.
Yeah.
But when it came out, you didn't think about it
I didn't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think they almost went a little too far in Link to the Past, in that all the secrets were pretty clearly telegraphed, and that you would always see the cracks in the wall, and it's I got to come back here and bomb that. But I really liked the ability to hit a wall with your sword and hear if there was a hole there. And maybe if they had just stuck to that instead of mixing it, with the cracks, so you could still go through the whole world and be really exploring, but it didn't mean you had to waste 100 bombs blowing up every section of the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that. Like when other people watch me play Zelda 1, and they're just like in disbelief that I don't know exactly what bush to burn, that like they just cannot understand that I wouldn't know, like, oh my gosh. But it's I am envious of the people who were like really playing that game when they were a kid, because back then you kind of expected a game to take you forever to get through, and you had the patience for it without expectation. But now, like, it's considered bad game design if you're wandering around forever and not knowing what to do, and there was absolutely no indication that I could interact with this bush or anything, and that would be considered bad now. But I also like really respect the feeling of just completely unexpected discovery too.
I
It's
just
just a
have
little
to
hard to
switch
do today.
I gotta change to a new game because I'm sure people
I'm
in the
gonna
chat
switch
are like,
games, too.
"What the fuck is he doing?" It's been a long time since I played this. Okay, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I haven't played it I haven't played through it in like 12 years probably.
Yeah, I do remember needing to call the Nintendo Power line to figure it out, but
I'm gonna switch too. I think I'm gonna switch to a
suggest-
non-gun game.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that we'll keep the spooky vibe alive and switch over to something I mentioned earlier, which was Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Ah, good one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm not sure how familiar Paul is with this, but I feel like this is an
I
absolute
never really
classic.
played it. But
Whew, I beat it. I don't love the game, but it's a thing for sure.
oh
Let's-
God,
Let's see if our system is working here.
What were you saying? There was a sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbor? I feel like I knew that and forgot about that.
what was it?
Ghoul
Ghoul
Patrol.
Quest or...
I think it was just on the Genesis. I don't know if it was on the Super Nintendo.
Let's see. Wikipedia says, not a great commercial success. The game was well received for its graphical style. Spawned a sequel, Ghoul Patrol, released in 1994. No, it looks like it is on Super Nintendo.
Oh,
How did I not know that? Or if I did, I forgot.
I guess your life in gaming is just hasn't been all that great,
Yeah. I feel like that's a thing I definitely should have known. Oh, it looks like it was not on the Genesis, only Super Nintendo.
Got to determine here if this cartridge is not working or if our signal chain is broken somewhere, which is always a fun game to play.
It looks like I'm looking at some screenshots of Ghoul Patrol. It looks interesting. I mean, it's got some like big bosses. I wonder if it's as difficult as the first game. Because that is definitely... I feel like Zombies Ate My Neighbors has to be one of the more infamously difficult 16-bit games.
As much as I like it, I've actually never finished it. Oh, here we go. And but the thing is, like, it's got a little bit of a PC design mentality, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There are a lot of secrets, and there are a lot of very specific ways to tackle challenges, and the game doesn't necessarily tell you about that stuff. Like, one of the things I had always really liked is that it actually takes a little bit of like knowledge of classic monster movies,
Mm-hmm.
in that a lot of the monsters have weaknesses that are specific to their lore, like you can kill a werewolf instantly by hitting it with silverware. And the blob monster you can kill quickly by freezing, like with ice or a fire extinguisher.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to think that you could sort of figure that stuff out on your own just by thinking about the classic monster movies that you've seen in the past.
Yeah. I want to say the game.
All right.
I want to say the game does have passwords, but I think they're really spread apart.
Yes. No, I think they're actually one per stage.
Oh, but I feel like there's
maybe you
something.
lose
There's
all your
something-
items. Maybe
There's something to it though. There's a catch. Like maybe if you enter the password, I think there's still like certain levels that you begin at. Regardless, I think.
Yeah, for as much as I like it, I can't remember exactly why I never finished it. So there must have been some weird catch. I think that's a monster in here. Nope. Funny.
Oh, you're playing Adventures of Little Ralph.
I am. It is. This game gets a lot of questions of like, what is that game? In the PlayStation episode. I have this on the Japanese PlayStation Network, but I'm playing on PS1. Just getting that out there. Not gonna say anything else.
It's bad. I don't over here.
Here, go back up and I'll.
But a lot of people ask us about this game. It's pretty awesome.
Doesn't that game only like I've never played it, but doesn't it only have like 2 button inputs? Like
Yeah, I think it just has jump and attack.
Jump and attack. I love when a game, you know, it maybe wasn't such a. It might have happened sometimes on like Super Nintendo or something, or like Genesis. It happened a lot where the game only had, you know, like Sonic, for example, is a 1-button game. But I always kind of like it when a game, especially, you know, like something more complicated like PlayStation, you know, had the guts to just be so simple and, you know, not come up with a use for every single button. Like that was, you know, I feel like I'm the only person in the world that thought Knack was a really good game, and I love the fact that it here's this like launch game for this, you know, system that you know they want you to believe is the most amazing advanced thing ever, and here's kind of Sony's flagship launch game, and it literally doesn't use the shoulder buttons for anything. I feel like that's bold, you know.
I feel like that's what Mark Cerny knows, right? He's kind of from that generation.
Exactly.
Of,
that was what
game developer.
Yeah, that was what I loved about it, because I felt like I was playing like a PS1 game, you know, but it had, you know, much more advanced graphics, and I feel like that was kind of a weird risk for the PS4, but. I can't believe that game is getting a sequel, because I mean I didn't think anyone but me liked it.
Well, I think Mark Cerny liked it, so that's probably all that matters.
Yeah, he probably has a pass to do whatever he wants at this point.
I've never been a person who's very interested in console wars or anything like that. I was always would prefer to have every game system that exists and just not really show favoritism to anyone. So like I was always really excited to try like a Sega Genesis when I went over to my cousin's house, or if someone at school had one. I wasn't really too interested in putting them down. It was just
See, I have to admit I definitely went through my Sega hating phase.
I definitely thought that the Sega was inferior.
See, I was a Sega kid, so
I never told anyone that.
I never felt it was inferior. After I played Space Harrier, then I like knew I had to have a Master System instead of a NES.
Oh well, the Master System might it's hard to say.
Better than the NES is what you're gonna say?
No, it's more powerful. But
technically, I'm wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I'm not
in
saying
terms
that
of
game, it's like
yeah. Game
I mean, the Master System has a good yellow, and the NES doesn't. So.
So it's better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing to think back on, but I think I was annoyed by like how cool Sega was trying to be, and like I wasn't a cool kid, and I was like, man, they're just trying so hard to be cool, and that's just not for me.
I just want to play Mario, man. Like
I know.
But then Nintendo came around with the like the play it loud business.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like we can be cool too. Like we put blood in Mortal Kombat too.
Well, you linked me to a Yoshi's Island VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
that I watched a little bit on YouTube.
And it's a play out loud.
And it's like Yoshi has to go take baby Mario all the way to reach his brother. It's like he's using completely the wrong voice for a crayon drawn game about baby Mario.
It's Nintendo's growing pains. They try to be cool. I just accepted that they were never going to be cool.
I liked my Play It Loud. What would I have? A Game Boy Color that might have been. Yeah. Is that when they did all the different colors?
And the different series. Yeah, I actually just got a. I think Play It Loud was like the different colored.
Nintendo 64s?
Original Game Boys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a. I got a clear one.
Oh, those are good.
Few weeks ago. I was on the look. I want to get a backlight mod in it because I don't know if you guys saw our Game Boy episode, but I borrowed a lot of modded systems from the guy that runs RetroRGB.com, and I didn't really think that I would care much about having like a Game Boy with a modded screen. But I gotta admit, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And so I was on the lookout. I didn't want to mod my, it's actually my cousin's original gray brick style Game Boy, because mine I gave to a friend way back in the day after I got my Game Boy Pocket because its screen was in really rough shape, and so I don't have my original, but the one that I used for the episode was my cousin's, and but so I didn't want to mod that one. I wanted to leave that one kind of as is, but I wanted to look for either a clear or a green, and I found it clear. So I've got that. I'm holding on.
Nice.
Holding on to that.
I have a blue and a yellow one at home.
Nice.
Modded, which is pretty neat.
We were one of the things that we did when we started out was work a lot in chip music and covering that music and the movement and everything, and we all ended up with like modded Game Boys.
Oh, that's great.
And I actually don't know off the top of my head where mine is right now.
Yeah, I wonder where your black.
I had a black one with a red backlight that was very cool. I think Asif has a black one with a green backlight.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I can't do that. Huh?
I went through a guy. His name is Non-Finite. I'm pretty sure he still does them, but
oh yeah. He was one of the.
You can find him nonfinite.com probably, but he did excellent work, or does. It's been a while since I really talked to him actually, but he did great stuff.
When I lived in New York, I went to a thing called, I don't know if it still happens or not. It's called Blip Fest. I don't know if it still happens.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. But 2012 was the last one. But they kept it between 2006 and 2012. They did it one every year, and that's what our first documentary was about. Was that the Blip Festival? The first.
Oh,
one.
really?
Oh.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested, it's called Reformat the Planet. It's somewhere. You can buy it online.
Gotta clown them. There we go.
What's that little creature that's following you around?
So there's a guy with a hockey mask. All right, now you're Monster Town. Just kill everything. Just open everything up.
I was actually talking about the creature on Corey's stream, but
Corey's stream.
You can tell me about the creature on your stream too.
Ours is
no, this is one of the best. This is like one of my favorite levels in this game is the hedge maze with all the chainsaw maniacs, and you can just like monster out and just punch everything, punch holes through the fences, and just at this time to like playing this game and having like the chainsaw maniacs sawing holes through the maze to come after you was like so cool. Just felt like something I'd never seen in a game before.
There's speaking of games that I like that other people don't. Castlevania 64 has pretty good.
I like that game.
Maniac chasing you through a hedge maze.
I like that.
Yes,
hey,
definitely.
I'm the only other one, but maybe you know what's weird about that game is when it came out, the reviews were pretty good.
Yeah,
and then over time, people have just said, Like I
Yeah.
remember reading EGM, and it was like an 8.5 like average game, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
And
it's
over
kind
time,
of weird.
for some reason, people are just like, that game sucked, didn't it? And I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's pretty good for the time.
Yeah,
like
it was a little, maybe a little. It should have been released sooner. In the N64's life cycle, like when you consider,
Yeah.
I think it was like 99, and then 2000 was Legacy of Darkness, I think, which is
Yeah.
basically a director's cut. Yeah, it's like a friend of mine has a theory. I kind of borrowed it for this little video that we did on sort of some hidden gems, and I sort of talked about the virtues of Castlevania 64.
Oh, wow. I didn't even see that one. That'd be awesome to watch.
Yeah, it was just one part of one video, but a friend of mine has a theory that I posited in that video that Konami, we would not have seen the downfall of Konami if people had liked Castlevania 64, because
They did like it, I'm telling you.
Was that the
I
crack?
just forgot.
The crack that just destroyed the company in time?
yeah, because see, if people had liked Castlevania 64, then Konami wouldn't have struggled to figure out what 3D Castlevania should be, and they wouldn't have made Lords of Shadow, which by the way I also thought was a pretty good game. Not very Castlevania-ish, but a pretty good game. Definitely.
I want to play
striking
Lords of
artwork
Shadow
in it.
too. I wish that the Mirror of Fate HD got a physical
3DS
release.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Rocket
mean, there was an
launcher,
HD version too.
that's
They ported it just like they did with the Batman
Debug. Yeah.
Blackgate.
But I feel like it was for some reason, like I never heard anyone say that they liked Lords of Shadow. I mean, I thought it was a good game, but not necessarily the direction that Castlevania should be taking. But I never really heard anyone say anything good about it, and so it was kind of like. Then when Konami was like, we're making Lords of Shadow 2 because Lords of Shadow 1 did really well, and I'm like, really? I can't believe it did. But and then no one bought Lords of Shadow 2, and I think that was when Konami gave up on video games.
I think that I liked Lords of Shadow, but I thought it was really flawed and had a lot of incredibly great art, but design that was all over the place, like really smooth combat but terrible platforming, and it just felt like maybe it was trying to do too many things at once.
I thought it was a better God of War game than God of War 3.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm not a huge God of War fan. Like,
I enjoyed them for a while, and like I don't know, at some point I just really stopped caring.
yeah. I think that they're very mechanically fun, but like I think that they try so hard to be like edgy and dark. It just gets to be
like,
obnoxious.
I never liked Kratos as a character, but and I'm not.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who really liked him as a character.
But I hear like people like think that like, or at least Sony acts like people like Kratos. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but the thing that I mean, the gameplay of those games is just okay to me. Like I'm not super huge into the combo combat sort of, I know it's different from Devil May Cry, but I think of it in the same genre. Like the combat in those sorts of games is something that's like, yeah, this is fine, but I'm not like way into it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like about the God of War games is just like it's this super gigantic, overblown version of Greek mythology, which, I mean, Greek mythology is big, and it makes it big. And I think, so it's just like this wild ride through Greek mythology. I think that is what I enjoy it for. And I don't think any of them topped God of War 2, so I think I just started losing interest.
You get like
But-
impaled on these spikes in this, and it's kind of violent looking when you die. Keep an eye out for that try. I think you'll get a kick out of it.
I don't know if it's just something about the stream fooling me, but like something about the backgrounds in this game just look like really smooth or something.
Yeah, well, I think they are.
off. Oh, cool.
Like the parallax layers just move really well.
Yeah, it looks like a gorgeous. We haven't been able to pay much attention to it because we're sitting here playing this, but it does look fantastic.
I just wish it wasn't.
It just looks like an
350.
HD Super Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sound like a lad.
Like right now in Zombies Ate My Neighbors, we're in the Pod People stage. And the game spawns characters that look exactly like the player characters. And they sort of change between attacking you to cloning your input. So, you know, at one moment it might be just facing the same direction and walking the same direction you are, and then suddenly it'll come after you. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
I hadn't seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers when I played Zombies Ate My Neighbors, so that I never really made that connection until you just pointed it out.
Yeah, I feel like it's, you know, they really just tried to jam as much monster lore into this game as they possibly could. There's just like Martians coming to take cheerleaders and werewolves and mermen, and
It feels like like a Fester's Quest sequel in a weird way.
but better. Or
Yeah.
not awful.
Yeah.
I always tried to beat Fester's Quest, and that
I
was
think everyone tried to do that.
a bad idea.
I kind of want
You
to
beat it?
try that game just on virtue of it being a Sunsoft game.
You ever tried it?
Nope, never tried it.
Dude,
I know it's
Why are
built
we
on.
on this stream? God, you never played that? Jesus. I'm questioning your credentials.
I know it's based on the Blaster Master engine, which you know is
Yeah.
that's like why I want to play. Of course, it's based on the part of Blaster Master that isn't as good, but still.
There's like
Yeah, I was
these.
just listening to Retronauts about it, how it was like American designers were just like gave their designs to the Japanese team, and it was like, make this for us. And they were like, whatever.
I love you get this little weed whacker, and you can go around destroying all these poisonous mushrooms on the ground with it. There's just like a lot of very specific use cases for the weapons, the odd selection of. Like all the weapons are very mundane and very household. Like I have cans of soda, I've got tomatoes, popsicles, plates, and forks as two separate things. Like
What about this machine gun?
that's a water gun.
Oh.
Yes. I guess it's
That
filled
one?
with holy water. Like,
Okay.
but I was I mean I think that games having a certain level of like fantasy wish fulfillment and always being full of insane like machine guns and magic spells, like playing a game that sort of weaponized mundane objects, I thought was really cool.
Man, it's not going well. Jeez, I'm not doing good. I wonder how long this game is. Can you look at how long this game is?
Yeah, you're on like 3-2.
Yeah.
Rescue this person up here. You have a rocket launcher still? You got one?
This? What's the fuck? Oh,
Should be like the gray just soda cans. Can we get around up this way? Oh, here we go. Oh, crap. There we go.
I'm struggling to find.
Like anything on it, pretty much.
Yeah, anything that's.
Okay, Okay, someone's saying, and Rifoil is saying that it's 8 worlds long, which would be pretty typical, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Magic number.
Yep.
But really, I feel like I always think of 8 worlds as like, oh yeah, that's classic. But I feel like not that many games other than Mario did like 8.
I don't know. I think that a lot
Like
of,
6 is pretty common.
I think
It depends
that,
on how much when they ran out of budget or the
Yeah.
publishing date came up.
Yeah, well, the Mario ones, they repeat and they're just like,
Right.
here's this one, but it's white looking.
Right. And so that's why, I think with like Yoshi's Island and, I want to say the new Super Mario Brothers games are not 8 worlds. Maybe they
Well,
are.
They've been
Well, they'll have
6
8
or
worlds,
something.
but different numbers of stages in the world, right?
Right. Or I think they're 8, but you don't have to go to all of them. Like there's like at least 2 branching paths in most of the games, I think.
this seems like it has some pretty decent checkpoints too, and you continue right at the checkpoints.
Whoa.
Ugh. I do like how violent the Death Star kind of. Man, just getting careless.
Let's see. What's effective against mummies? I guess you'd think fire, right?
Fire, yeah.
I think one of the things that the game doesn't give you.
Can I ask you guys, did you guys decide to do a show first, or did you have a whole bunch of games behind you first? Because every time I see someone who like hosts a YouTube show, they have a stack of games behind their head. Like, which comes first? Is
I
that
mean-
mandatory?
I mean, we
We definitely both had a lot of games, but I think doing a YouTube channel has encouraged me to get more.
Stack them all up there.
It's made my threshold for games that I want to get just kind of like, oh, there's like something interesting about this game, and
Yeah.
like maybe that'll be useful for the show one day.
yeah.
But I mean, my shelf behind me, I mean, it has been there since I moved here, and it has had all my games. I mean, I've been filling that shelf up with games for a long time. So, but I mean,
We do try to frame our shots so it's just not like, oh, we're standing in front of games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like a
trope.
a trope at this point. And we do try to put other stuff behind us when we have something that makes sense.
They're all real, right? They're not just like cardboard cutouts. that are like,
Yeah. I mean, we're lucky in that we've kept a lot of stuff from when we were kids.
Yeah.
I did sell off a lot at one point, but for the most part, I mean, we still have. I'm lucky that I have like my Chrono Triggers from like the day it came out. Like, I'm lucky that I just happened to be into, at the time, was into like a lot of these games that ended up being expensive now.
I'm I mentioned earlier that I'm about the backloggery, and so I still hold myself to my backlog.
Oh, is that your backlog behind you?
Well, no.
Threatening to like crush you? Like,
Some of those are part of my backlog for sure, but at one point, it was 2008 actually. Like I beat every game that I owned. I had 0 unfinished games, and
like, there's very, very few people that could say that.
yeah, and I mean,
you beat them all, or just played them all?
I
No.
had beaten every
No.
single game that I owned,
Oh,
and
right.
I mean, and that was at the time probably 400 or 500 games, but it's a lot more now, and the show definitely has encouraged me to buy games faster than I would have used to. When I was like so concerned with my backlog.
Because we never know
But
when
now-
we can use it for something.
Yeah, but now my backlog, I've been dancing with 99 unfinished games for over a year now, because I and people on the backloggery keep, they're just drooling for me to go over to 100 unfinished games, and I refuse to give them the satisfaction. So every time that, like, I know I've got like something coming in the mail, or there's a release coming up, or something, like, okay, I'm looking through my backlog and seeing like what's like a 5-hour game.
If only I could do that. I have 2 kids, so it's like, okay, I can't just arbitrarily like drop a entire day like beating a game. And I know that I'll go over this number.
I mean, it's the show has significantly cut back on my game time, so it's kind of what I do at this point. I end up spending like 2 or 3 weeks just like focused, or maybe not totally focused, but some of it totally focused, but just video production is consuming me. And then when that's done, then I celebrate, and I just like binge on a game or 2 that I've been like wanting to play, and so I just like do nothing all day but play that. I'm a very very single-minded sort of person. I don't jump from one thing to the other. It's it's like, okay, today I'm playing a video game.
Knowing just like having an idea of how much work goes into the stuff that you guys make, it amazes me. Do you have any free time at all?
Yeah.
It's just a tremendous time sink to put that kind of stuff together.
We were just talking to somebody yesterday, and he's like, he asked us, how much time do you think you put into each episode? Like 10 hours? I'm like,
I think he said
like upwards of 10 hours.
From planning to getting it done, like, you think it's like 20 hours?
Yeah.
I think he said 20.
He said upward of 10 hours, like 20 hours. I'm like, no, not it.
I work from home now, but my job, or at least mostly work from home, but my job had me at work, 40 hours a week, and I would say I still put more hours.
I missed it. Didn't even see that coming. Sorry.
On average, into the show and into my life in gaming. I was spending my entire evenings, working on entire weekends, and I still kind of am, but it's nice that I'm a lot more flexible now. It's not, nearly as exhausting, but yeah, it's, it
do you guys
is.
feel like you are you getting enough views where do you feel like it's worth it?
I mean, we don't get enough money to fairly compensate for the time that we put into it, but
it could possibly happen at some point.
Yes. We're on the right trajectory. I mean, it has gone up significantly in the past year plus. And it feels, from a money standpoint, it feels much more worth it than it had for the whole time. The way I like to phrase it to people is, it used to be enough money to buy a few hamburgers a month, and now it's enough to pay several bills a month. So it is definitely not a living yet, but I'd say it's fair to say we've got a path forward to that. And thank you, Blade Blur. Blade Blur chipped in $2 and said, I can help a little bit. Thank you.
There's a hamburger for you.
Are you guys playing? Is that like Legend of Cage 2?
Demon's Sword, which I believe is like Legend of Kage.
Kage. Yeah. I always call it Cage when I was a kid, so it's always kind of stuck.
I did the same thing.
Was there a DS or 3DS one? There was a version.
Yeah, there was like
DS.
Kage that was really good.
DS, I think.
That was really good.
That was fantastic.
I mean, this looks like NES, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I knew there was a sequel to it on NES.
Well, I mean, it was called Demon Sword, and I don't think they made any. I think they were just trying to. The cover of it is like a barbarian guy or something, and I think they're trying to detach it from all the Japanese mysticism.
Mm. They're doing some
And,
serious jumping around there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's the coolest part. You just like you press up on the D-pad and you just like can jump around. As a kid, this was like the ultimate like freedom game because usually you're so earthbound.
Yeah.
You can just like jump all around. It's great.
yeah, like this and like Low G Man, I was fascinated with because they let you jump so high, and you, that was like something that was usually just you saved for Game Genie codes.
Yeah.
But they actually have a game that featured it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, look at how I'm jumping. Come on.
And you're jumping across like the tops of trees. It's like we didn't see that until Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, basically in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think that this inspired that actually.
This is the video game of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I the one time I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was on an airplane, and like it was not what I was expecting at all. Like I was just like so taken
tigers?
off guard.
I don't see any tigers in this game.
I was just so taken off guard by its like complete disregard for physics, and it's just like oh, okay. So they're like flying around on trees, and then there's like no explanation for it. There's like you're just supposed to accept it.
You didn't like that?
I mean,
That was amazing.
I feel like I would appreciate a lot more revisiting it now.
This is so difficult right now.
But it was. I think I was just so surprised that I was just like, what?
Early on, one of my early jobs is I worked at a GameStop, and this was during the time that they were phasing out all the classic games. So when I started, we were still taking trade-ins on Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and then that stopped, and all that stuff went to being priced for like $1, $2, and me and everyone at my store were like crazy about it, so we sort of begged that everyone in the area sent their games to us. And we just sort of collected all the games from like all the stores around us and then bought them ourselves.
Wow.
Like we would pick out all the best things and be like put them aside, and it's like, oh, I'm keeping this. So
yeah.
I'd had like a bunch of Nintendo and Super Nintendo games from when I was younger, but like during the GameStop era, I had absorbed like a ton more, and it was I've just been getting all my stuff shipped out from my mom's house to me here at the office so that we could have games in the building. And I would just open up these boxes and be like, oh, I forgot I had all this stuff. Because we've got like a ROM loader cart, but I also wanted to have like as many physical like games as we possibly could, because I feel like if we're going to do an episode of Devs Play
you want to have their game.
Yeah, it's like we want to have the game. We don't want to be booting something off of a cart, but at other times when that game isn't accessible, it's nice to have the cart just in case. So like when we're playing like the Castlevania mod, we could play that Castlevania mod on a Nintendo as opposed to having to run it in an emulator, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I got a good chunk of my old games when before GameStop bought Funkoland. I don't know if you're familiar with Funkoland.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it was such a good time to be getting into what was at the time retro games, because like it was like late 90s when I decided to get back into NES, and also like check out some of the Super Nintendo stuff that I had overlooked, because I wasn't into RPGs until probably like 98, 99, and I started revisiting all the Super Nintendo RPGs, and I'm so glad that I got into that at that time, because now it would just be so prohibitively expensive to get into that now.
Oh
We're
yeah,
having
I mean,
some
I can't even imagine starting from like scratch right now.
Yeah, but I definitely know the feeling of, just seeing that there were like so many like, $2 NES games. It's like,
Whoa,
so
what are you
easy.
guys sending right there? That looks crazy. The fuzz or whatever it is.
Hmm?
Oh
The
yeah,
static.
we're having some technical difficulties here, as always. Just trying to get the Nintendo to work. And I feel like I'm trying to remember if we actually changed this is my original Nintendo from when I was, when it came out. I'm trying to remember if I got the connectors replaced or not.
I've been told by good old Voltar, who may still be in the chat, that it's actually pretty easy to restore the original connector.
Yeah, I've got.
And apparently they work a lot better than like the cheap replacements.
So actually just fixing the one that's already in there. I see. Yeah, because I remember I ordered one, and I thought that I installed it, but now I can't remember. So maybe I didn't. Oh no.
Oh, Lifeforce.
Well, I've never played co-op of this.
Yeah, there's only so many, maybe that's not true. There's a lot of really great co-op games on the Nintendo. And
The tough thing with co-op in a game like this, though, is like then it's going to be even harder to get powered up.
Yeah, I don't know if the game is throwing the same number of power-ups or if it adds more for you.
I assume it's the same.
But there are a lot of things where there's two paths, and it's not like you're going to be able to get both of them anyway.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So when you guys...
Oh, go ahead. Go on.
No, I was going to say, you guys are pretty much like one of the very first, like people doing, like, game documentaries, essentially. Besides, like... So you guys are, like, my first kind of exposure to it, and... I really liked what Polygon was doing, like, early on when they first started. Like, the human angle stuff.
Yeah, they tried to have a video component that I think didn't quite work out, or the guy who started it left. I forget how that worked out.
Mm-hmm. But now it's, like, crazy the amount of, like, people that are kind of getting into it. Like, I'm just thinking about, like with what Danny O'Dwyer is doing with NoClip.
Yeah. Yeah, there's tons of Patreons and tons more just documentary stuff in general I see popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we started...
it wasn't shit.
I felt like there wasn't anybody doing the type of stuff that we wanted to do. There were definitely behind the scenes things from publishers that were very... lacked any sort of human element whatsoever. It was, just wireframes on a computer screen and somebody talking about how great their game is going to be.
That's still true today, though. That's still.
Is there any kind of like dream projects that you wish you could do or wish you could have done?
Well, I think we'd always wanted to do.
Did them.
Oh, there's Nintendo stuff we always wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's agreed to do some with Miyamoto.
Yeah.
Not a lot,
but I feel like the Double Fine Adventure was a dream project because we wanted to do that beginning to end game development.
Yeah.
And when I talk about the Double Fine Adventure, I always feel like it shouldn't exist. Because I mean, we worked with Sony for a while, and there's just so much stuff that you have to do when you're working with a marketing department and a legal department, and so many things you don't get to say or you don't really get to explore. And probably, there's reasoning behind that, because if you watch the Double Fine Adventure, you sort of see what happens when you're transparent. some of the downsides of that, just because people don't understand anything about it. So it's difficult to really be open and explore a lot of aspects of development when you have a publisher involved. And
What did you cut in?
what's that?
What did you edit in? Did you cut
We started off in Final Cut 7 and have since moved on to X.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with X. I know some people that really love it. But I mean, I was a 7 user for a long time. And I think that's why I switched over to Premiere, is because once X came out, then Adobe kind of said, all right, this is our big chance to... I was so close to the end there. It was like their big chance to like make something that was like exactly what Apple was like had with 7. Like they're very functionally like similar. Except for...
See, I've been stubborn and never learned anything but Premiere, and I feel like it's finally paid off. Because now
you're
Premiere's
lucky.
like, it seems like Premiere finally reached kind of that professional acceptance.
Yeah, I don't really know anyone who dabbles in multiple systems. I feel like people learn one and then you stick with it regardless of how good it is.
It's just
you
that,
learn to make it good.
Yeah, but back in, well, I say back in the day, but several years ago, you would look at job applications, and you need to know Avid or Final Cut. Like Premiere wasn't part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And now it's like Final Cut or Premiere.
Well, I mean, you still see some. I mean, not here, like in LA, in New York, you still see Avid.
But I mean, I've rarely looked at job applications, because I haven't really had a compelling reason to move on from my own job. But I've seen some here and there, and it definitely seems like Premiere has reached that broader acceptance. Like it just seems like that. I don't know. Like most people seem to be using Premiere these days.
Well, it's part of the Creative Cloud too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're paying for it.
They knew what they were doing with that. Like they.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a smart move. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that will say, "Oh, I'll never join Creative Cloud because you don't actually own your own stuff or whatever." And I can understand that too. But it's increasingly, it doesn't even matter,
Yeah. I mean, I was always baffled why people weren't just using Premiere, because everyone was using Photoshop and After Effects.
Yeah, well, because Premiere just wasn't that great for a while.
But like I said, it was like I was just stubborn. That's what I learned. I liked it. I stuck with it. I didn't have need of anything much more complicated, and so that was what I started with, and I've never seriously used anything else. I mean, I've messed around with this or that, but
Paul and Asif had spent way more time in 7 than I did, and when X came out, I was the first person to transition over to that and try to figure it out. And I don't think it was as weird for me because I wasn't as used to using 7. So I think anytime you're, anytime you're making the switch, it can be tricky. And the difference between 7 and X is huge. It might as well just be a completely different operating system.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's not so bad.
It doesn't feel that different to me once I...
Oh, really?
I feel like I see the similarities more than the differences now.
Oh, that's good.
But I don't know. I think it gets a bad rep. I mean, maybe X was despised initially. Like, I've never used that version that initially came out.
Yeah,
it's used the updated one. So
it's come a long way, I'll say.
But I don't know. I felt like it was easy enough to get into, like being a fan of 7.
Wasn't the bigger reason that it was so controversial was because it just immediately ruined people's workflow? Like there were certain things that it wasn't compatible with or something?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
a lot of stuff
plugins-
that just wasn't ready when they released it. And they,
plugins were destroyed.
like all the updates, it's like every update that comes out for it is like really significant.
Yeah.
You know? They had that
They've
really
been adding-
cool like 3D text one that they did a year and a half ago. That I wish that Premiere had.
We still struggle with audio workflow. I haven't quite.
True.
I figure that for whatever reason they seem to think the system they have is good, and
You're like,
I
it's
don't
not.
I don't necessarily agree, but but everything else has been pretty great. And plus, so we did the Double Fine adventure in 7. That entire series was done in 7, and it was getting to the point that the episodes were so big and so long, referencing so many pieces of footage that Final Cut could barely keep them open.
Ugh, man.
And the process that we went through of color correcting it and finalizing the series was a nightmare because projects wouldn't even open anymore. It would open and it would have a memory failure and crash.
Oh.
And we had to cut things up into segments and just it was the worst. It was a nightmare. And then we were trying to do noise reduction and advanced color correction, and just the memory profile just did not support any of it.
My computer's, gosh, I think it might be, is it 4 years old this year? It might be. So yeah, I sometimes wonder how I edit the stuff I do with what I've got.
Yeah, we couldn't even get 60 FPS footage to work reliably. Like back in 7, it was, it just aged out. And now, all that stuff is supported really well, so it's not a problem anymore.
Well, I guess I've done some at least done graphics card upgrades, and the one of the when I built the computer, I built like I wasn't even editing at home that much. Like this was before the show, so yeah, gosh, I guess it really is 4 years old because I probably built it. I think I built it like in the winter, at the beginning of the year, like the same year we started the show. And at the time, I bought an ATI. Like I've been buying NVIDIA cards, but I got an ATI. They tempted me with an ATI card because they were offering free, not Rise of the Tomb Raider, the Tomb Raider reboot, and BioShock Infinite, which Tomb Raider just come out. And BioShock Infinite wasn't out yet, and they were offering both of those games for free. I was like, well, those were games I wanted to play anyways. And it was like not that expensive of a graphics card either, so I was like, I'm going to get an ATI card. But then I kind of regretted it when I started the show because it just did not play as nicely with Premiere as NVIDIA cards, and so
Got to get those CUDAs. Because they have those CUDAs.
when I didn't get like a killer NVIDIA card, but but just upgrading to NVIDIA like significantly improved my editing experience. It was like to the point where I expected to go through at least 2 or 3 render failures before I finally got a good one. And now with the NVIDIA, it rarely happens.
I feel like that we're still mostly on. We have one new Mac Pro that we use for like a lot of heavy lifting, but the majority of the editing takes place on 2 iMacs that are like 5 or 6 years old. They're getting really old, but they're still running X more or less okay. We have to troubleshoot some problems every now and then, but being part of the Apple workflow and not being able to upgrade components, it honestly hasn't been that bad. Like, I think that they've been doing a good job of making the operating system and Final Cut work on older hardware.
Yeah, I want to get a new computer like when I can, but I feel like right now a 4K TV is a bigger need.
Whoa. He's like became an adult.
Isn't that the story of this game?
Yeah,
Like,
he got turned into a little kid. But wow, and the game is just like turned into like a one-on-one fighting game.
What?
After all this time.
After all this time, about
That's so
halfway through
weird.
the game, it turns into a one-on-one fighting game. It is literally a one-on-one fighting game. Have you seen it happen yet, Troy?
Yeah, it actually happened really quickly. Like, I've been watching the stream in
You
HD
can
all
do-
night. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we're watching through the lag here, but yeah, we're seeing the Lizard Man fight. So
How random!
It's,
I was not, and it even has like Street Fighter inputs.
fireballs, yeah. It almost looks like they stole that flame body animation from like World Heroes or Street Fighter 2.
You can do dragon punches too, like in the same input. And he says Dragon Slash.
So before we did this stream, we've done, we do streams at the Double Fine office, and occasionally we have guests join in through Skype. And like one of the biggest challenges that we deal with is trying to find a way to make just to get the audio working for everyone. Like we'll have 3 to 4 people here in one room, so it's all different mics and all, nobody's wearing any headphones. There's so many like technical problems behind doing live streams, and like right now, like the process that we're doing, there is like some lag on the gameplay from what the video is on the screen of just like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to get around this. I think if there were a way for us to send you guys a direct video signal that you could ingest on your end, but I don't know if anyone in the chat has any experience with this, but it's pretty tricky. Because you guys are capturing a feed that we put out to Twitch and then embedding it into yours.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a few levels of like delay going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's the
people
only
hear
way I
our
really know what to
conversation.
do.
Our conversation happens like in with a 30
In YouTube time.
Yeah, in YouTube time. But your footage obviously will be a lot behind. Will be far behind. There is one streamer that figured out a way to do it. Like had to use some like a server or something like that.
Yeah, like if you set your ingest server to be local or something like that, perhaps. Like I'm not quite sure.
But he was able to do it, with somebody over the internet. Like they were able to like log into some server or something. I mean, is it like an ingest server? I don't know. I don't remember. His name is CoStar. I think that's the name of his stream. CoESTAR. Man, am I gonna lose again? There we go. But he did. I don't know how he did it exactly.
It seems like something that wouldn't probably be feasible unless like you were, a daily streamer.
Right.
In our case, it's a matter of just having the time to sit down and try to figure out how to do it, because we're often like streaming is fairly low priority at the office. It's something that we're kind of doing in our spare time, and I definitely haven't sunk enough research time into figuring out these like very specific problems.
You're very lucky that you like this is like your daily work, like that. This is what you get to do. I spend so much time like working on stuff. I'm like, oh, I can't even imagine like if it was like you go into work and you figure it out.
And Tim Schafer's just there.
What's that?
Tim Schafer's just there, hanging out.
And he
Wow.
pays you to hook up video game systems.
Yeah.
Wow, this is. You would think that this should have been 2-player, Paul.
Oh, Legendary Wings.
I was thinking of Legendary Wings because I was trying to think of what is simultaneous 2-player, but Paul asked me to go to Lethal Weapon, and I don't see any option to play as Danny Glover. So Did your battery die? It looks like mine's about to die too. We're gonna have to switch out our 9 volts.
Okay. I mean, it is after 11, but we'll go a little bit longer.
Oh wow, it is after 11.
Yeah, that's it. The an RTMP server from the broadcast too. That's what he was talking. I remember he was talking about that. Try.
I assume there is some costs involved in making that happen.
So you've been watching me play this game, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
It's awesome.
I don't remember this part where you get the weapons in a forest.
In the woods?
Does it have doesn't this game not have memory card function?
No, this one does.
Oh, so have you been saving along the way?
I think you can go back and play the levels you've beaten. I don't know how it works exactly. But it doesn't feel like it's overall that difficult.
Well, it looks pretty forgiving.
I don't know if you guys saw the person in the chat or not. So they were talking about an RTMP server.
Okay.
Don't know what that stands for, but I've certainly seen the term.
Yeah.
Network,
it's a destination that you can set your stream to.
Network stuff is not my area of expertise.
Wow, the frame rate on this is really jacked. I wonder if it's always been this way.
It's always weird to see like NES games that are not 60 frames per second. Like Ninja Turtles. The first Ninja Turtles game is
actually, that's kind of what this is reminding me of. So we just fired up Low G Man, and because we were talking about games where you can jump high earlier, and I remember being obsessed with this game just because you could jump high, and kind of obsessed with any game that let you jump high. I rented it a bunch.
That was a very interesting looking intro. It did not have a very NES look to it.
Yeah. That's great. I've never played this game, so I have no idea.
Yeah, so you freeze things and then you hit them with your spear to kill them. But yeah, you can get different rides and stuff.
Those
pretty rad.
Skyscrapers in the background have like an interesting texture to them.
Yeah, it's almost like a Judge Dredd sort of like super city in the background.
This is cool.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to jump up there and stab him with your spear through the glass. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so Eric Leone is saying that the cost is minimal for the RTMP server.
Oh, so it's the hardware that you buy, or do you?
OBS Project has
service.
a tutorial on how to do it on the site.
Yeah, and obviously you probably you'll need to have some pretty serious internet, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, the internet at the office here is pretty good, and when we're streaming, it's generally not being used for. It's kind of after hours, so most everyone has gone home.
I can't see the chat from here, but does anyone have any two-player questions by any chance? I haven't been looking at it at all, but we're wrapping up. If anyone has anything,
Yeah, we'll put it out there.
I'll keep an eye on the chat.
nah.
I'm not very good at keeping an eye on the chat, admittedly, because I can't multitask.
Ugh. Problems here. There we go.
Is this late in the NES cycle, or is
Mid, I want to say. I don't think it was super late.
Is the frame rate? Is this how it usually is?
I think so. I think it's probably they're having technical problems due to.
I booted up some NES game today that I think was 30 frames. It wasn't Ninja Turtles. I did boot up Ninja Turtles today, but it was something else, and I can't remember what it was though.
So do you think you're going to make it by Wednesday or midweek for the episode?
I don't think it's going to be midweek, but I am going to be very upset if I don't have it out by Friday.
Yeah.
I'm like a third through.
Okay. I mean, that's.
I feel fairly good about. I was hoping to be. Actually, I'd say I'm probably more than a third. It's probably like 3/7.
But
I was
the
hoping-
episode is a lot longer than we like originally anticipated too.
Yeah, I mean it's
close to 30 minutes, right?
it's close to 30 minutes. I'm there are a few gaps that I've left in for audio comparisons that I haven't recorded yet. So it's probably ultimately going to be more like between 28 and 29, I'm hoping. But I mean, I'm pretty well far along. I'm, depending on how much time work takes away from it this week, we'll see. Probably a decent bit, but I'm going to do everything I can. But yeah,
You
it's
guys look like the Mega Man guys, the ones with the shield. Whoa, that's crazy.
I'm thinking that this performance might have something to do with a faulty ROM or the fact that we're on a cart. I actually own a physical copy of this, but it's like...
Is this Capcom? Who made this?
No. I forget who made it.
I think it said Taxon on the title.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They did the
It's
first
sh-
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
What, am I supposed to be blowing up this hostage? Because it doesn't seem to be very effective. I do not want to give up my ride, but that's what I have to do. Ah, of course. I got a WrestleMania belt out of it.
Try. We should look up the RTMP server and see like how tough it would be to do. We could do dual streams more often, and I wonder if that would even be affected by the throttling that you.
Yeah, I mean, if I streamed directly to you and your internet had no trouble handling it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it's be a fascinating thing to look into, and
it'd be cool if you could
definitely
have
wanna
like
try it out.
people, do like 2-screen streams and stuff with you, like remotely. more
yeah, I mean,
often.
I'd like to. When we do, I mean, sometimes we have guests, but other times we just sort of screw around. And some of the most fun is when we do like comparison streams or like we did one with Castlevania versus Dark Souls 3 and which game you died the most in, and just played them simultaneously. But to be able to sort of, do more side-by-side streams with other people, or we have a lot of indie devs, so having them actually stream their game to us and talk about it, and instead of, having to set up some weird cumbersome setup here would be really cool.
Awesome. Ellis in the chat is asking Two Player Productions if you could recap what you guys do.
Oh, you tune in late?
Oh.
So we do documentary content for the games industry, but for the past 5 years, we've been working almost exclusively with Double Fine. Before that, we had done some stuff with Sony for Uncharted and
The Minecraft documentary.
We worked with chip music artists in New York. But
You guys weren't
yeah,
based
it's
out
mostly
of
been
there.
Double Fine.
You guys weren't based in New York at any point, were you?
Yes.
Oh, you were.
In the beginning, yeah.
Where'd you live?
Brooklyn.
Nice. Same here. I mean, so you guys were there at the same time as I was there.
Yeah, you said you had gone to Blip Festival. Do you remember what year it was?
Well, I want to say it was probably maybe 2007.
Oh, okay.
That
was
would have been
best one.
That was the best one, yeah. You probably saw us there because we were standing on stage videoing everyone.
That's cool. I mean, so you were there at the beginning, and like, how long did you live there for before that?
Both Paul and I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh,
And,
okay.
Paul was in New York way before I was. But what was the New York years like?
It was like 2007 and 2009-ish.
Okay.
Kind of in there. And then 2009, towards the end, we moved to Portland, and we were there for 4 years. That's where we kind of did the Penny Arcade series. the first season of that, and then we did the Minecraft doc from there, and started with Double Fine Adventure stuff there, and moved to San Francisco after that. Took off. But yeah, I don't know what we're most known for. I guess I would hope the Double Fine Adventure stuff these days, but who knows?
I think some people remember the Penny Arcade series, but that was quite a while ago now.
And just to sort of recap, I guess, since we're kind of coming up on the end of the stream, we might have a lot of people that weren't here in the beginning when you kind of gave the explanation. But you're trying to get your Double Fine Adventure documentary series on Netflix, and there's really no like open communication with Netflix, but your understanding is that if enough people clamor for something, that Netflix might make it happen.
It's like the most that we have to go on. So there's, the Netflix, the situation is interesting. Netflix doesn't really have a direct line of communication with them, and I understand why, because I'm sure that they'd be getting, just why would they want to deal with every filmmaker in the world? Like, there's got to be some sort of filter system.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you have aggregators who take a bunch of content and then they present it to Netflix. And we've tried working with them, but I think that there is a certain, even when you're dealing with those companies, you personally don't get to have any direct contact. And that severely bothers me because I don't know how our project is pitched, how it's presented, because it can be very easy to make it sound not as good as we think it is. I mean, there's some level of debate as to like what the quality of Netflix's content is, and I think they specifically take on a lot of kind of bad stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe people like watching bad stuff, but kind of how it happens is that they're sort of given packages. Aggregators tend to they tend to get a whole bunch of stuff together and then take like 50 things to Netflix, and that's a bit of how the process goes.
Yeah,
But
when I see stuff that's not that impressive on Netflix, though, it makes me feel really good about myself. So
exactly, yeah.
I always enjoy seeing that.
It's like why aren't, like, being as you guys know, probably you're your own worst critic a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, should this stuff be on Netflix? And then you'll watch something really bad on Netflix and be like, yeah, I think that we might be better than that. So maybe it's not a stretch.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm going to drop in the chat this link to your blog post that's got instructions on. I mean, it's like zero effort to just go to this Netflix submission form and say you want to see Double Fine Adventure on there. So,
although if you would like to just watch it first and see the show, you can buy the Blu-ray. It's on YouTube. The whole series just exists there for anyone to watch.
Yeah, as we were making the show, we were putting it out maybe like a month or two after each episode was almost in like real time for the backers of the Double Fine Adventure project. But after that was done, we put all those up on YouTube, but then we revisited the entire series and did our post-production to clean it up and try to make it as the best it possibly could be. And that's the version that we've put on Blu-ray, and it's kind of like the definitive edition.
Yeah, and there's commentary tracks from Tim Schafer and everyone that's in the documentary, and us, and hours and hours of deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. But if you're totally like, what is this they're talking about, then just watch. It's a 20-part series. It runs like 12 hours, which I know is frightening, but if you care at all about games, I do feel like it's probably the best document of a game or games or anything to do with games. Even if it's not, I mean, even if you think it's bad, and even if it's... You won't think it's bad. You'll like it.
But there's nothing else. There's nothing else like it, and I can honestly say that is true. Like, there is no other 12-hour documentary about a game being made, one singular game from beginning to end.
But I think the reason why I want to get on Netflix is, I mean, that sounds like someone that loves games. That's their wet dream. But also, I do feel like it's a documentary for anyone because the characters, the people at Double Fine are so likable, and Tim is a great sort of, I wouldn't say host, but the main character, and he's very easy to understand and get to know and love and all that. So there is definitely an entry point for people that don't know anything about games to just watch and enjoy. So.
And like you say, other game stuff has done well on Netflix.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like Indie Game the movie, like there's a lot of other little docs. What? Just crash on me here? But we're sort of thinking that there's already a community of people there who might appreciate it, and they just need to find it.
Yeah, but the trailer's up. You guys can check that out.
When you guys were making it, was like you knew it was going to be good from the beginning, but did you ever have a point where you thought this is like so much better than we ever thought it was going to be?
We didn't
know it was going to be good from the beginning.
We didn't know what it was going to be too much because we planned the Kickstarter with Double Fine, and the whole point of the Kickstarter, there's some weird stuff happening with this copy of Power Blade 2 right now. But we didn't know how successful it was going to be. We planned it to be a $400,000 project to make a documentary and a game, and then it got like the 3.4 million.
Right.
And we thought that we were going to be shooting something for a couple of months, and it turned into like over 3 years. So we didn't expect all the drama or, it was a unique experience, and we just shot everything that we possibly could, and it ended up being fascinating for a number of different reasons. None of which we were really expecting, and it was also tough to watch the team go through the problems that they did, so we didn't wish any of that on them. But you couldn't have asked for a more interesting documentary project, I think.
Yeah, and it's not like you kind of said, you've done work with companies like Sony and stuff, and obviously, it's going to be more scrubbed up for them.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So it's a unique thing that wouldn't exist through a lot of other companies.
Yeah, there's no traditional publisher that would have allowed something like this to happen.
And to Tim's credit, he was totally open with that, and he was like, he was down to make himself look bad in a lot of cases.
It's just the honesty of it all is a lot of people are afraid to show, but it's something that we've always found fascinating is like the struggle, and I think that's what all good documentary stuff is about, the struggle. It humanizes the subject, and it makes you feel like you can relate to them because everybody struggles with something.
Yeah. Plus, any doc that, even if it's put out by the company that made it, is even if just a little bit honest. Like I still remember there's this documentary for The Phantom Menace. It was on the DVD where they actually show the rough cut screening of the movie to George Lucas and everyone, and they're all like talking about how it doesn't work at all. And I was like, how did this sneak through the cracks? Like, didn't anyone watch this and weren't they like, you can't have that? But it's there on a DVD that sold millions. So that kind of stuff you appreciate it so much more.
Well, because he himself is like, I don't know if it works.
Yeah, he's like, maybe I made a mistake here or there. And that was fascinating to see, and that's one of my favorite sort of making of documentaries is that little documentary on the Phantom Menace DVD.
We should watch we haven't gotten around to it yet, but we should watch the Hobbit trilogy making of.
Yeah, those are good, and I feel like now that Disney owns Star Wars, you're never gonna see that kind of Phantom Menace doc. Like it's all like, we can't talk about that now. So it's kind of similar in that way, where because Lucas was that company, he could be like, yes, do it, I don't care. And the same way that Tim is this company, he could be like, yes, we look bad right here, but people will understand why we look bad or what went wrong.
And to Double Fine's credit, all game companies go through massive problems, outrageously massive problems. a lot of people got upset by the problems that the Double Fine Adventure had, but compared to other things that we've heard about within the industry, people would lose their minds. Like projects costing tens of millions of dollars and never seeing the light of day, and that sort of thing. It's pretty common in the game industry, but since the industry refuses to talk about it, when we finally got to show what development actually is, people didn't understand how to process it.
Oh, another fighting segment.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
But that's cool that, it's like kind of a warts and all. Like that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say to anyone that hasn't watched it, before you do the Netflix thing, I mean, you should do that, but definitely watch it first and become a fan first, and then do the Netflix submission. Because if you like games at all, I think you'll find it fascinating. And probably if you're watching this live stream.
Yeah, I would like to think that anybody that watches this would hopefully like it. We recently got, there's like a lot of people in the industry who we, like other content creators that we really respect and sort of look up to, like you guys, and like Hardcore Gaming 101 recently gave us a shout out when they reviewed Broken Age, and it's just really cool to see stuff like that, because these are like the resources that we look to and use, and it's nice to see that these people look at the stuff that we did and think that it contributed something. So, people in the industry saying they like the show was always great to hear, because they're living in that world, and if we're showing their world accurately, then we've accomplished our goal.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Now it's a matter of, is the show going to play to a general audience of just people cruising Netflix on a Sunday night? So.
Oh, I
be
have no doubt.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of content that would resonate. Like if people would just try an episode, I think, just give it a try. They'll be like, oh, this is more than I thought it would be.
Certainly hope so.
I just watched I watched like half of it. The kind of follow-up to Indie Game the movie. I didn't realize I did a follow-up until...
Oh, it's kind of additional footage that they chopped into another feature, sort of.
Right.
It's not necessarily a follow-up so much, I don't think.
Well, I think they kind of position it as one.
Did they go back, or is that how they presented it? I haven't gotten around to checking it out yet.
Well, it's the one that had like the Phil Fish saying that like all Japanese games suck.
Oh, okay.
Because that was definitely after.
Yeah.
You gotta like your protagonist. Yeah, that's good. You wanted that in there.
This isn't the end of the game. It's not the end of the game.
Oh, is she naked?
Did you beat that?
This can't be the end. It looks like it could be the ending, but...
Now you're going to become a old man or turn into a baby? Like, what's the next step?
I don't know. These appear to be credits that are rolling.
Dragon form? Maybe you beat it. Jeez.
That definitely looks like
Castlevania.
Maybe you didn't... Did it not feel like a final boss?
No. I mean, it was a one-on-one fight. I don't know because I didn't read the story, obviously.
I mean, some games pull the fake credits trick.
Yeah.
So you can mark this beat on your backlog for the PSN version.
Yeah, I was not expecting that to happen. Maybe I was. I wonder if I was like playing on easy or something like that. Maybe it defaults to easy.
Yeah.
I hope people in the stream are appreciating how completely and utterly broken my copy of Power Blade is, because whole elements of the screen.
Yeah, look at it. It's like
Yeah.
The entire platform that you're supposed to be on is gone.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. First Power Blade's good. I've never played the second though, because it's
The second one's
super
expensive.
Yeah.
This
definitely
was
reminding me how much NES games, like when you're really far in one and it starts to mess up, you're like, just hang together a little longer until I get to the
like
it
the-
starts to fall apart.
it's like the
"Come
World
on."
War II bomber that's just shot full of holes, and
Yeah.
you're hoping to come in for the landing.
Like, you can do it.
Now, this was something that it's like as my mom was sending all the old games out and I was looking through them, I was like, I have a copy of Power Blade 2.
Holy
Like,
crap!
I was like, isn't this incredibly expensive?
Yeah,
and it's got like a GameStop sticker on it for like $12 or something.
Oh,
So
that's the best.
I want to say this might be more than Little Samson, but I could be wrong.
I think they're about the same.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Power Blade 2 is as much as Little Samson? Or really?
Yeah,
$800
I think
bucks?
so. I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
Because
no,
Little
I
Samson is
think
like
this
$800 now.
This is more like 300, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I'm
I
going to
mean,
look it up.
it's definitely not new in box or anything like that. Oh, look, it suddenly works again. I just needed to die there for the game to clear its memory register.
You know, I've never seen the Japanese version of. Oh, okay. I guess it's not as bad. It's like here's a card only that's like. Here's one that is almost 300, and then there's one that's almost 400. So
So
I mean, the first game is not cheap, but it's affordable.
So the game was on easy. I guess it defaults to easy because definitely didn't have anything on the memory card. But because there's only an easy and normal. There's no hard.
Ah.
Oh wait, it's even better than I thought. Here, see if I can put this in focus here. There we go.
So what kind of camera are you shooting
499
with right now?
This is a Canon C300, and this is what we shoot all of our documentary stuff with.
That's kind of like the actual like camcorder one, right? It's not a DSLR.
We have one of the 5Ds. I forget which one, Mark III, I guess.
Okay.
But it really doesn't match this footage very well, so we tend to just use it for different things.
Mm-hmm.
But the C300s, we just have we can do SDI out of these to we have an SDI card in the computer for capture, or we can do HDMI out into the Magwell capture card. I think right now we're doing HDMI because Skype recognizes this as a video source as opposed to the SDI card, which it does not. But I think that my death in Power Blade, we will say we should probably wrap things up.
Yeah. All right, hang on. Let me switch over to the back.
I didn't know until a few months ago though that the Japanese version of Power Blade is like all like cutesy.
Oh, you know what? I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's got like this like chibi looking sort of character.
There's a series on YouTube I really like that's like same name, different game.
Oh yeah. That's on the stick.
Yes.
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
He's a good friend.
He does a lot of great videos too.
Mm-hmm.
I love a lot of the stuff he puts up.
Yep.
I feel like he might have been the one that was talking about Power Blade and the difference between, at least the time I saw somebody talking about it.
He's also got a big rack of video games behind him.
Yes.
He talks in front of it. Yeah, just like you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, we try not to. I mean, there's a lot of them where we're in front of like CRTs a lot of times, like PVMs.
Fall to it at times.
Yeah. Oh
no
yeah.
shame. Just saying.
But I mean, it's we think about it, like try to figure out a way not to do it sometimes.
One day it should just fall over and it's just a piece of cardboard with games printed across it.
It just crushes you.
Well, mine are like bolted to the wall because I don't want them to fall on my kids. They like climb on them or something. Not that they're ever like in the room with the stuff, but
Yeah, you won't let that happen.
Well,
it's been a lot of fun being on the stream with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Everyone should go and request Double Fine Adventure on Netflix if they haven't yet. Try. Do you want to throw that link in there one more time?
Yeah, I'll throw it in right now. That's just a link to the blog, but then there's a link to where you can do the submission. It'll literally take you 60 seconds.
The page, yeah,
Submit it, watch the trailer.
the page at least explains everything, and you can watch the trailer on there. So it's
But
good.
I'm telling you guys, it's a good show. Not just saying that.
Were there any other questions from the chat, like before we sign off? Or
Yeah, let's see if there's
feel like
any.
we're good.
And and of course you guys do your streams on Twitch, so everyone go check them out there.
Thursdays at 5 Pacific.
We've actually switched over to YouTube as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. I've noticed that actually. Now that you say that.
And that's just on the Double Fine YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
which we stream to that, and
Yeah, just subscribe there and you'll get a notification when we are streaming. But pretty much everything we've done with Double Fine for the last 5 years is on their YouTube.
Yeah,
so you could definitely spend a few months just watching everything.
there's over 400 videos on that YouTube
If
channel.
you like
Wow.
games, then it's got it all, man. Let's check it out.
Blade Blur is asking you guys if it's just you two that are part of Two Player Productions, or is there anybody
we
else?
have
One more guy.
we have Asif, who is our cinematographer and also editor, and he's just on vacation for the 3-day weekend, so he wasn't able to join us tonight.
Nice.
He's also like, I don't like those guys, so I'm going to sit this one out.
It's the
I mean, I was-
worst thing
I was trying to
thinking
be
about
nice.
spending his weekends with you too.
I got to go to town, guys. Sorry.
Let's see if anybody else. So you guys use a Magewell capture card. We use AverMedia. I've been really on the fence with getting a Magewell. I kind of have a dream of doing like an episode of like optimizing like capture, set up like different codecs to use and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I think something like that could be really, really popular. I think, if a lot of people are looking to get into this stuff.
I had a friend of mine asking me questions about capturing because he was going to start up a YouTube show, and he was talking about capturing everything lossless at 60 FPS, like 1080p, and I told him I thought he was insane. Just the amount, because I understand sort of the mentality that I think that you guys might share with us in just how you can sort of go down that rabbit hole of visual presentation. And when you're talking about lossless game capture at 60 FPS, you're just filling up hard drives in a matter of moments.
And you got to realize you're actually going to be implementing so little of that footage.
Oh, God, yeah.
And at the end of the day, like when I think like, oh, could I be recording at higher quality, or could this look better? At the end of the day, you gotta remember you're making YouTube videos, so I mean, you should start with as high quality as possible. But the main outlet for this is YouTube. It's going to get compressed down even further, so I don't need to go so crazy overboard.
Mm-hmm.
We use the Magewell for streaming, because it has 4 inputs, so we can actually have multiple video sources set up in the stream, which is really cool.
See, that's awesome. That is really awesome.
And for capture, specifically if we're capturing for a trailer or just like for a show, we'll use the X Capture 1, which it just happens to have capture software that it came with, which makes that whole process really easy. And we can choose to either go lossless or varying degrees of compressed. That all seems to look fine. So the Magewell didn't come with any sort of specific capture software suite, so we just use it as a streaming interface.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Like somebody, I was asking about the Magewell, and I said, does it support 240p? And he says, it'd probably be easier to figure out what, I mean, the more complicated question is like what resolutions doesn't it support? Because it supports everything.
Yeah, that's what I love about it, is that you can throw both of these devices, the X Capture and the Magewell. You can change resolution in like midstream, and they just take it. Like it doesn't stop working, it doesn't crash.
Right.
And when you're doing a live stream and jumping back and forth between a ton of different inputs, it's awesome. I mean, it's kind of bulletproof.
I was really, really close to getting the Magewell. That has like the dongle for composite S video, and component and also the HDMI input. But then I said I'm just gonna wait and eventually get one for when I need to do 4K. Because what I have right now is okay. And like the 4K one is like $800.
Yeah.
So I might as well. Because I was saying earlier today that's what Digital Foundry uses is a Mage Weld that does 4K. And there's two different 4K ones. There's one that does like only does 4K 30 frames per second, and then there's another one. The $800 one does 4K 60 frames.
Yeah, the one that we have now is the older version of that was just 1080p 60 FPS. But it was like the only 4-input card that handled that I could find, and I think it was 800 as well back then. But it was like an annoying point in time when capture, you either had to go total pro, and you're talking about multiple thousands of dollars, or you just couldn't capture 1080p 60 FPS. Like there wasn't a solution there because streaming to Twitch and YouTube hadn't quite gotten to that point yet.
Right.
And now it is. So those devices are fairly more common, but there was just a little stretch of time where it was a real pain to find something that worked.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is Magewell is, I only just first heard about them like 4 months ago, probably. But they've been around for a long time, I guess. And it's just weird that, the only ones you ever hear about, I guess, in terms of games is like Elgato and Avermedia. Yeah. And sometimes, you'd hear Black Magic. But the thing with Black Magic, I don't know if they've changed their ways, but they are so like video oriented that if you're anything like out of spec at all, it won't show up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we had Black Magic capture devices that I just wanted to pull my hair out with because it was that exact problem. At the moment that you did like a resolution switch, or if you weren't completely dialed in perfectly, it just wouldn't work.
Right.
Yeah. They adhere to the professional spec way too much for my taste.
And I mean, you understand when it comes to like video and stuff like that. That makes sense because it'll always be spot on like that. But
if you're in the video game world, then
yeah. When you have even Nintendo games that can decide to change their like resolution output or something like mid-game, or do something weird for a certain menu, like you just can't have that signal break and have it end your streaming experience.
Blabler is also asking what's the best way to contact you guys.
Twitter?
Yeah, or you can email us. It's just...
Well, we have a 2player at doublefine.com email address.
And our emails are easy enough to find. They're on our website.
Yeah, we're fairly Googleable. But 2P Productions on Twitter is good.
What did you guys back up all your stuff onto for the documentary?
God. That's something that we're currently still sort of working on. We have we're trying to work together with Double Fine to create like a storage solution, and we've basically just been contributing towards like a huge centralized media server. But locally, we just have tons of Promise Pegasus drive arrays, and
it's like 35 terabytes, like the whole series maybe. Still big.
Yeah. But collectively, even like we're talking maybe like 150 terabytes of content that is just floating around, and we're just trying to find like a way to centralize it and protect it, and making sure that we have like backups of stuff at all times, which is terrifying.
Try that. You like kind of gasped at that, but when you think about it, I mean, you just got your third 5 terabyte backup drive. I have 2, and I didn't even start backing up, like keeping all my raw footage until like sometime like last year.
Yeah, but the thing is, I went through my previous 5 terabyte in a year or less, because that was when I got my GH4, and its files are a whole lot bigger than my old Nikon. So.
Well, you guys are also shooting very specific. You're not rolling. We traditionally shoot like an hour an hour and
Right,
a
like
half.
you were shooting, I mean, like real deal documentary stuff. So I mean, yeah, it makes sense that you fill up like a lot more. Like I've got, I've got right here. I don't know. I have no idea why I do this, but I write my shot sheets out by hand. Like I just like once I've got my audio laid out, like I just listen to it and I'm like, okay, I need a shot of this, and this, and.
You kind of write stuff out, don't you, Paul? Or do you just use
Yeah,
it?
write some stuff down.
Yeah.
This is like the only thing I write by hand. I hate writing by hand, but for some reason, like I do this by hand, and so yeah, like for the most part, I'm going for getting specific shots. I call it B-roll, but I guess that since it's since I'm getting a very specific shot, that's probably not the best definition of it, but.
I mean, you got to do what works best for you.
Yeah.
I think we all have like pretty different systems.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like I try to get footage of something ahead of time, and sometimes I have to. Like for example, when we got to borrow the Wide Boy 64 for the Game Boy, I couldn't hold on to that for months and months and months. So I just gathered everything I might possibly need for it. And I even wrote like that segment of the video, even though it would be months before I was able to do the video. I wrote that section to make sure, okay, I'm not overlooking something that I might regret not having later. I just find that it's more efficient for me to figure out specific shots rather than ahead of time just try to get shots that I might maybe use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rare that we actually get to work on anything that requires like I guess sometimes I mean like sometimes we'll do like a really constructed video like for like a Kickstarter campaign or something like that and do storyboards and like really more in-depth planning, but I feel like 90% of the time we're just doing shooting whatever's in front of our faces.
I mean that's gotta be nice in some ways. I mean, I guess in some ways you're thinking, oh, I gotta make something out of this. I don't know what I'm gonna make out of this yet.
You're just pushing the work off till later. Shooting it now, worry about it later.
Yeah, I mean, even when we did like the limited run, like we just shot with them all day.
Yeah.
And it's lucky that we could fill in. You do whatever you can to like fill in the gaps, and once you get everything kind of. I had never written anything like that. It's kind of my first documentary style like edit project that I had done like on my own, and I had a great time with it.
No, like it's really cool to see you guys like going down that path and doing more stuff like that because those have been awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely a priority for us moving forward. Like we want to do more things. Branch out and do things like that much more often if we can. Right now it's just kind of been driven by convenience, but we'd like to take more opportunities as we grow.
Yeah, I mean we have a couple of, we have at least one kind of like in the moving forward that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah.
And I have kind of like one dream one that I'm gonna pitch to somebody, and see what happens with that.
I think you're going to get it. It's going to happen. Honestly, this stuff is easier to make happen than you think. You know?
I mean, when it comes to like retro games, I guess, especially when it's people that are not like working a ton these days.
Right, but I guess the flip side is it can be challenging to talk to some people about stuff they have done, because if they are tied up with a big company, then the PR people are going to want to make sure that, oh, you're not just talking about what they have done. They want you to mostly talk about what's coming up.
Right. And you kind of had that when you went to visit Cyan.
Well, not really.
You were surprised that you got to talk about the old stuff as much as you did. But
well, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of, in my initial pitch, I was like, I want to talk to Rand Miller about, his history with Miss and stuff, and about abduction, which, and I did, I wanted to talk about that because, it was talking about something that was coming up and getting to interview him about that, like that was something that people probably didn't have a lot of information on at the time. So that was exciting. I did want to do that, but I mean, I spent 40, 45 minutes talking to him about, the old stuff mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys are just waiting to talk about that stuff because they've never really had an outlet to do it. So if you get in touch, it's more likely that they'll be like, yeah, I can tell you all about that. Like, they just have these stories that...
And that is so cool. That's so cool.
They want to get out, so you'd be surprised.
Yeah, it's often just a matter of reaching someone. That's like the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting them to agree, different story. But yeah, I guess definitely like the employment, like there's stuff that we've wanted to talk to people about that they haven't been able to just because of who they're working for.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a thing.
So at the Japanese.
Oh, the Japanese guys,
people,
yeah.
It's really hard, but like for all the Dead Play people like that we've ever had are always super game.
Yeah, and I think people can just know like what to and not to say in some cases.
Yeah.
Keep themselves out of trouble.
Wow, it's midnight, you guys.
Yeah. Sorry we went so much longer than anticipated.
No,
That's all right.
It's been fun.
It's not that late here.
Yeah,
you guys.
Still pretty early for us.
You'd just be at the same time as it would be just starting if we were there.
Do another one.
All right. So is that going to do it?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We should try to be on the show again sometime. We'll figure out the
absolutely.
Figure out the gameplay share thing a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Good night.
See you guys.